Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask you all to please stand up for the national anthem. Princeton University, 1939. Professor Albert Einstein is handing out exam papers to his final year class. One of the students calls out, "Sir, these are the same questions as last year." "I know," replied Einstein, "but the answers are different this year." Innovation is the restless search for better answers. Guests, students, faculty, administrators, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Manal Jalloul. I'm a lecturer at the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department in MSFEA and a research consultant in the fields of computer vision, GPU computing, and deep learning. I'm also NVIDIA's Deep Learning Institute certified instructor and university ambassador. I'm going to be your MC for the event. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the second MSFEA FYP Accelerator Demo Day, where 8 teams of final year students will be pitching their startups to win $50,000 in cash prizes. You will meet the second cohort of the MSFEA FYP Accelerator program, where student teams transform their technical innovations into viable businesses as part of the MSFEA Entrepreneurship Initiative. An A-class lineup of judges and entrepreneurship ecosystem will select during this event 3 teams to win this year's awards. 2 years ago, with the efforts of our dean, Professor Alain Shahade, Professor Ayman Qaisi, and Mona Itani, the MSFEA has launched the Entrepreneurship Initiative as one of its various strategic initiatives supported by the Maroon Sim'an Endowment. This initiative aims to transform the faculty into a powerhouse of innovation and entrepreneurship, contribute to the knowledge economies of Lebanon and the region, foster links with the growing entrepreneurship ecosystem in Lebanon and the region, encourage companies, small to large in size, and networks to build stronger connections with MSFEA. Graduate students with a solid preparation for entrepreneurship endeavors. And finally, create a ripple effect and spread awareness among all MSFEA students about the importance of entrepreneurship based on success stories. In addition to the FYP Accelerator program, which is the flagship program, many other entrepreneurship and student innovation activities and events took place as part of the entrepreneurship initiative, such as the annual MSFEA Hackathon, which had the theme of big data, AI, and media for this year, and was sponsored by Touch and Anghami, and hosted more than 100 students from different majors at AUB. I was fortunate, actually, to take part of that event and give a workshop on the fundamentals of deep learning. Let us now introduce first our esteemed panel of judges. Our first judge is a prominent female figure. Mrs. Rana Ghandour Salhab is a Deloitte Middle East Executive Committee member and former elected member of the firm's board of directors. She served as chair of the DME Board Advisory Council, as chair of the DME Partner Screening Committee, and previously served on the DME board and CEO Nominating Committee. Rana is the regional talent and communications partner at Deloitte ME, with a responsibility spanning 16 countries in the region. Her role also includes overseeing communications programs, the firm's digital platforms, social media management, media and public relations, as well as corporate responsibility and sustainability programs. Rana is an advocate for women advancement in the Middle East communities to reach leadership roles in both private and public sectors. She's a member of the board of the National Commission for Lebanese Women, which advises ministries in Lebanon on gender equality laws and practices, and sits at the Middle East Advisory Board of the Olayan Business School at the American University of Beirut. In both 2017 and 2018, Rana was ranked in the top 5 global champions of women in business by the UK's Financial Times, FT and Heroes. Big round of applause to Mrs. Rana Salhab. Thank you, Rana. Pleasure to have you here. Our next member of the jury is Dr. Nicolas Rouhana. Dr. Nicolas is currently the general manager of IM Capital, a $20 million program funded under USAID's MENA Investment Initiative, providing matching capital, equity guarantee, and technical assistance to early-stage businesses and investors in Lebanon. Between 2002 and 2015, Dr. Rouhana was the executive director of Beritech Technological Pole, counseling and mentoring Lebanese entrepreneurships in their startup ventures. He was associate professor at UZIP and the administrator of Beirut Internet Exchange Point till 2015. He currently is vice president of the Internet Society Lebanon chapter, a board member at Beritech, and chairman of Speed Seed Accelerator. Dr. Rouhana holds a telecommunications engineering degree from the St. Joseph University and a PhD in networking systems from Université Pierre at Marie Curie in Paris. He's also an EDP graduate from INSEAD France. A big round of applause to Dr. Rouhana, although he's not here yet. Coming up is the well-known founder and CEO of ArabNet, Omar Christides. ArabNet produces leading events, insights, and innovation programs focused on tech business and innovation in the MENA region. Before founding ArabNet, Omar worked in private wealth management at a family office in New York on a small team managing $1 billion in diverse assets. Prior to that, he was a consultant at Booz & Co. in the MENA and worked on varied projects across industries, including energy, technology, media, and public sector. He holds a BA and MBA from Yale University and is the co-founder of the Yale Arab Alumni Association. Omar received many awards and honors. In 2012, he was named in the Gulf News magazine as the 30 under 30 list. In 2014, he was described by Endeavor as the high-impact entrepreneur. In 2017, ArabNet ranked among the top 100 Arab world startups, according to the World Economic Forum. And in 2018, he was chosen as top innovator of the Middle East, according to the Global Finance magazine. A big round of applause to Omar Christides. Our next judge is also a prominent female figure. Mrs. Salam Yamout is the Regional Director, Middle East for the Internet Society since November 2016, where she's responsible for heading the Middle East Regional Bureau and promoting access to the Internet for the benefit of people everywhere. Prior to joining the Internet Society, Ms. Yamout was the National Information and Communications Technologies, ICT, Strategy Coordinator at the Office of the Prime Minister of Lebanon. She brings over 25 years of experience in the development and management of ICT systems and their impact on business, governments, and society at large. She worked with industry leaders such as Cisco Systems and international organizations such as the European Union and UNDP. Ms. Yamout is the founder and executive board member of the Lebanese Internet Center, Women in IT, and the Lebanon chapter of the Internet Society. She also serves on the board of various organizations, including RIPE and CC, the Internet Registry for Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Central Asia. Ms. Yamout holds a Master's of Business Administration from École Supérieure des Affaires in Beirut and a Master of Science in Electrical Engineering from the University of Arizona. A big round of applause goes to you, Ms. Salam. Coming up in our panel of judges is Mr. Ayman Shalhoub. Welcome. Ayman is the Chief Product Officer and co-founder at Neem Card, where he is responsible for leading the product and marketing strategy and overseeing product management, design, and data science functions. Ayman joined in 2014, where he was instrumental in creating the product vision and for driving early business growth. Before joining Neem Card, he co-founded a mobile startup focusing on augmented and virtual reality. And prior to entering the startup scene, Ayman was based in London and led Nokia's mobile music service across the Middle East, Africa, and in the emerging markets of India, China, Russia, and Brazil. Ayman is a graduate of the American University of Beirut with a bachelor in electrical engineering, lived in 4 different countries, and worked on businesses covering diverse, multicultural regions of the world. Big round of applause to you. Our panel of judges are indeed well chosen. Mrs. Rana Salhab, Dr. Nicola Rouhana, Mr. Omar Christides, Ms. Salam Yamout, and Mr. Ayman Shalhoub, thank you for being with us today. Now it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to be inspired by our keynote speaker for this event. It's my pleasure to introduce to you IDEA's 2019 winner of the Distinguished Young Alumni Award from the Mechanical Engineering Department, Mr. Nadim Haber. Nadim is the founder and CEO of Design Hubs, a software-as-a-service platform that enables companies to engage their audience with interactive 3D, augmented reality, and virtual reality experiences, viewable in all browsers on all devices. Design Hubs is the first company in the GCC to be part of Oracle Global Startups and is also in the Microsoft Partner Network. Prior to starting Design Hubs, Nadim founded Autotech in 2014, a boutique one-stop shop for supercars and high-end cars in Lebanon. Autotech was a new concept in the automotive aftermarket industry and offered many innovative solutions, including design of performance parts, repairs, and engine control unit programming for maximum performance. It was sold in 2015 to Autotech's main competitor. He then worked for 4 years as a business development and technical lead in a regional maritime company based in the UAE that provides offshore vessels and technical support to the oil and gas industry. During his tenure, he developed accounts with oil and gas majors and closed several multi-million-dollar deals. Nadim holds a BE in mechanical engineering from AUB, class of 2012, and a degree in automotive technology and advanced systems from the Universal Technical Institute of Pennsylvania, class of 2013. He joined the Mercedes-Benz USA program in Los Angeles after his graduation. Thank you, Nadim, for being with us today.
Thank you for the introduction. If you had told me 7 years ago, as I was presenting my FYP project about a smart seatbelt that was anything but smart, that I would be standing in front of such a huge audience, receiving the Distinguished Young Alumnus Award, I would have laughed. I'm very honored and grateful to the faculty members of the Mechanical Engineering Department and the Maroon Sam'an Faculty of Engineering and Architecture for this prestigious award, but also for the incredible education and support that they provided during my time at AUB. I would also like to acknowledge my wonderful fellow alumni in attendance at this event. It is an honor to be in such great company. To all those here working on their startups or planning to launch one, you all know as well as I do that more than 90% of us will fail. I'm sorry for being dramatic, but these are the facts. And yet, we make all that great leap. We dedicate ourselves to our vision and face whatever challenges come our way in order to bring our vision to reality. When I graduated from AUB as a mechanical engineer in 2012, I shortlisted my options to just two. 1, join a consulting firm. 2, pursue my vision to build a car brand and embark on a journey filled with uncertainty. Ready to take on the world, I chose to go off the standard track and take the route most likely to lead me to my vision of car manufacturing. But as we all know now, that did not happen. You would have heard about me and my cars in the news somewhere. From my earliest days, I never wanted to take the conventional path. What truly drives me is creating things, building things, and solving problems. I always wanted to achieve, but differently, by building something that truly has my mark on it. My plan was to have a workshop that would generate enough money to survive and cover the cost of manufacturing a car. So right after graduating from AUB, I packed my bags and took off to the United States. In 2013, I got my degree in Automotive Advanced Systems from the Universal Technical Institute of Pennsylvania. I finished that one-year program in 8 months. It was intensive, to say the least. Directly after graduation, I joined the Mercedes-Benz USA program in Los Angeles for 5 months. I knew I didn't want to work anywhere. I just wanted to achieve my vision of building cars. Once again, I packed my bags and returned to Lebanon, where I founded my first company, Autotech, in February of 2014, a one-stop shop for high-end cars and supercars. From Ferraris to Porsches and Bentleys, Autotech provided everything, from repairs to the design of performance parts to customizations. We were profitable from our very first month. My goal was to turn Autotech into a franchise while simultaneously working on building our own car. Things did not go as planned. The economic downturn and the high instability in the region, compounded with the customer mentalities, led me to sell Autotech to our main competitor after just 9 months. All the hard work, the vision, the dream, all ended just like that. It was a painful decision, but it was one that I needed to make. I made the decision to keep my interest in cars as a hobby and decided not to work in this industry. Soon after selling Autotech, I received an offer from a regional company based in UAE that provides offshore vessels to oil and gas majors in the region. I became their business and technical lead, in charge of everything from vessel breakdowns to repairs, to leading the technical team, and even closing multi-million-dollar deals with oil and gas giants. I worked with everyone, from C-level executive to engineers and technicians. I was the person everyone called whenever a problem arose. I had to be available 24/7, 365 days of the year. It sounds like a great position, but a major part of me was unfulfilled. I knew I wanted something else, but I couldn't find the answers. I was lost. So, I went back to basics. I started with the simple things that I loved the most, solving problems by building and creating things. After office hours, I worked tirelessly on side projects that solved problems my friends and I encountered. One of the projects we developed was called X-Shade. X-Shade was a box that you put on top of your car, connects to your mobile, and with just one click, the box would recognize the car's dimensions and deploy a canvas to cover it from the sun. Now, if you've ever lived in the GCC, you know the feeling of getting into a car on a sweltering day. When it's 55 degrees outside, it's going to be a suffocating 70 degrees inside the vehicle. I designed the entire system from scratch with the assistance of a very talented friend. With X-Shade, I was shortlisted in Stars of Science and passed the first round. But right before the second round, I decided to drop from the program. In truth, I did not believe that the product was going to be big enough. Again, my gut instinct told me there was something else out there for me, another problem that needed to be solved. While working on this project, the main pain point I faced was that I wasn't able to share the interactive 3D design online and see it without having dedicated 3D software. I became obsessed with solving this problem, researching it extensively, and speaking to several industry experts. There was no obvious solution. I realized that this was something that thousands of companies face globally. So I committed myself to finding a solution. Design Hubs started as a side project, but it eventually led me to sign my resignation letter in August of 2018, effective October. Right after signing my resignation letter in August, I returned to Lebanon for a 10-day vacation. On the 8th day, just 2 days before I was due to return, I was involved in a major motorcycle accident. I was hospitalized for 2 weeks with a burst fracture in my back. I underwent 2 surgeries and couldn't drive or even travel for 4 months. I was barely able to walk, but at least I was alive. During my long recovery, the only thing on my mind was that I now had the opportunity to start working on Design Hubs, even before my resignation would take effect. Just after 3 weeks of leaving the hospital, and with my back in a brace, I was out pitching Design Hubs to companies here in Lebanon. In February of this year, I returned to the UAE, and Design Hubs was officially founded on March 10, 2019. Design Hubs enables you to have interactive 3D walkthroughs of properties that are off-plan or under construction. You can walk into apartments that don't even exist yet, explore the rooms and customize them, and you can do all this from any browser on any device. You can even share these experiences on all social channels with just a URL. These experiences can be used in virtual reality and augmented reality. Today, Design Hubs is the first company in the GCC to become part of Oracle Global Startups. We are also part of Microsoft Partner Network and on Plug and Play's platform. In just a couple of days, Design Hubs is joining Start AD's Launchpad, which is an acceleration program in cooperation with 2 of the largest construction and property development firms in Abu Dhabi, along with governmental entities. We have always listened carefully to our customers and underwent many iterations to get to where we are today. Our mentality was to become better every hour. We exposed our flaws, got criticized, and then worked even harder to improve. That is something we continuously do. We know that our best clients are the ones who give us feedback. Our best advisors are the ones who continuously provide criticism. If you're not open to taking criticism, you won't improve. Today, our advisors range from CTOs and directors of multinational firms to ex-founders who exited to international corporations. We're still at the beginning of our journey, one that is going to be full of learning, uncertainties, and surprises. One thing I know for sure is that my team and I will do whatever it takes, regardless of the difficulties and the challenges, to make this journey a successful one. AUB, thank you for giving the education and tools that enabled me to embark on such a journey. My time at AUB paved the path that led me on to where I am today, which I am so grateful for. I wish every single one of you a journey full of learning, and success. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Nadim, for your inspiring speech. At this point, I'd like to introduce to you our second speaker for the event, Mr. Ilyas Bustani. Ilyas is the co-instructor of the MSFEA FYP Accelerator and Strategy Consultant that contributed to the design and execution of this program, working with Dr. Ayman Qaisi and Munay Tani. Ilyas had previously served as the Chief Operating Officer for WAMDA and a Senior Associate for Strategy and previously Booz & Co. He members startups across accelerators, including Speed at BDD, Flat 6 Labs, and Smart ESA. A big round of applause to Mr. Ilyas Bustani.
Hi, everyone. So I will not be late because we're already 15 minutes behind the schedule. I'll just give you a quick brief on why we're doing this and what are the main components of the program. So the main idea is to combine both the academic excellence of AUB along with the know-how of the ecosystem that has been growing quite fast in the past couple of years. So we have on one end the research, the academic excellence angle, on the other hand, the market know-how, the lean startup methodologies, and what have you. So this program wouldn't have been possible without the full support of all the entrepreneurship ecosystem. So here you have all the different entities that have intervened in a way or another, but either by giving inspirational talks or by giving technical workshops or being mentors of the startups or supporting them on pitching and what have you. And the product of this effort was the 9 startups that you are going to see now. The way they are different from the typical startups that you see is that they have much stronger fundamentals in terms of R&D because they have spent 2 semesters working on developing the technical aspect of their product in parallel to the business aspect. Also, we have a guest startup that is incubated during those 2 semesters, which is a collaboration between medical school. So it has medical students that are collaborating with a mechanical engineer in order to come up with a product. You're going to see their pitch at the end. So, quickly, I'm going to walk you through the emotional roller coaster that the teams has faced over the time. So at the beginning, they were very optimistic. So it is what we call uninformed optimism. Because for them, if you ask them what is the distance between you and the market, they will say, I just need to develop my prototype and then go to the market and sell it. Who is your market segment? Everyone will be interested in my idea. Then you had the different interventions of people who had done it before, that highlighted all the ups and downs of the journey, like we saw now with Nadim. And this has enlightened them that in order to do a startup, it's not about just building a product and then either I become a millionaire or not. It is a journey of a lot of work. You have to figure out many things, from access to market, to access to financing, access to talent, pivot, etc. So here they became more and more pessimistic. Some questioned themselves, some pivoted once they have done market studies or they got feedback that they have reflected it. They had also low resolution prototypes, etc. And after a certain stage, many of them became much more possessing all the aspects of the startup, much more well-rounded in order to move forward with their projects, and we have lost other ones. So today, we have the 9 teams that made it so far, and it will be up to you to support them in continuing their journey. Now, the objective of the program, so we'll be very happy if we get around 3 startups that go and continue with their project, but also we're trying to build well-rounded engineers that can as well develop the business aspect and the technical aspect or of whatever endeavor they want to do, and to be ready for the job market that's awaiting for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Elias. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to bring you to the next level of excitement. It's time for our students' teams to showcase their innovative projects and pitch their startup ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start with a group of 4 startups. I'd like to welcome on stage Marilyn Berberi, who will be pitching our first startup, AlarmMate.
One out of 25 adult drivers in the US have admitted to have fallen asleep behind the wheel. This translates into 21% of fatal car crashes involving drowsy drivers, which have resulted in 43% of injuries and death. And while we cannot prevent those people from driving, we have come up with a life-saving solution, AlarmMate, your ultimate driving guardian. It's a hybrid and plug-in system integrated into cars, which simultaneously monitors the driver's heart rate and facial features, respectively, through a heart rate sensor embedded in his seatbelt and an infrared camera in the dashboard. And when any drowsiness symptoms occur, an alarm sound will alert the driver to keep him awake, and in extreme cases, a message will be sent to his emergency contacts to keep them reassured. Our market size is composed of $160 billion of active and passive car safety equipment. And by those, I mean passive car safety equipment, like any equipment that would be in the car and cannot be displaced, like airbags, ABS, and so on. Active car safety equipment, like any product or system that can be plugged in the car and it would protect the driver or the car. A subset of this market is the $60 billion market of active car safety equipment in which our product AlarmMate falls. So in order to tackle the market, we have come up with a process of 3 phases. The first phase would be an awareness phase where we spread campaigns around the campus or broadcasting them through radio stations or even Anghami, which are always present in your car, while teaming up with road safety NGOs locally and regionally, the ones presented on the screen. As a second and a third phase, we aim to partner up with insurance companies and car sellers and resellers in order to sell the product to them or through them. So for that, we have designed a business model working in parallel. We have the business-to-business model in which we team up with insurance companies in order to sell them a package of 100 units at a price of $100 per unit. While the business-to-customer model, we aim to launch an e-store on which we sell our product at a price of $120 per device for individuals and $120 with a 10% commission for car sellers and resellers. We acknowledge the existence of competitors in our market, such as the Harken project, which works on analyzing the heart rate of the driver to detect drowsiness. We have also the Drive Guardian, which analyzes the facial features of the driver. And finally, we have luxury car companies like Tesla or Mercedes-Benz, which work on evaluating the deviation from the lane of the drowsy driver. And for this analysis, you have opted for 2 KPIs, which are the method reliability and the speed of the results. As for us, AlarmMate, we offer 4 unique features. 1, it's a hybrid system having 2 technologies working in parallel to maximize the accuracy and the speed of the result, since we cannot waste a second on a person's life. 2, it's non-intrusive. It doesn't come in the way of the driver in any form. 3, it's user-independent. It doesn't need any manipulation by the driver. And finally, it's a plug-and-play system. It works in any car model, old or new, and it starts monitoring as soon as you start the engine. So we're a team of 3 computer and electrical engineers, myself being the technical officer of the team, and my other 2 teammates being financial and marketing officer with a background or a previous experience as being the vice president and the secretary of the IEEE organization. In terms of progress or traction for our project, we have already raised over 500 answers of polls which have been conducted at the university and even for people outside or driving. And we have found out that 60% have experienced drowsiness while driving, and 90% are willing to buy our product. We're also conducting interviews with people in the field that we're concerned with, like I listed before, insurance companies, road safety NGOs, and so on. And we have our working prototype, which is ready to be manufactured. We're going to take a look at a small demo. So here is a profile view of the driver, which is about to fall asleep. The alarm is activated. Here is the same shot, but on the screen of the device, where the eyes are contoured. Going below the threshold, the drowsiness alert will be activated. So the sound will be on, but we just heard it previously. We also tested on one of the impediments, which is having glasses. So the same shot as well. Again, as the same perspective, we have the ratio with the condition going below 0.25, and the alert will be activated. We also have recorded the heart rate analysis. So when the BPM goes above 150, and there's a certain condition on low frequency and high frequency of the heart rate, the alarm will ring, and gradually there will be a decrease of the beats per minute of the driver because he has been alerted. So finally, for our project, we asked for $100,000, which would cover our marketing expenses, our operational expenses, and finally, the costs of manufacturing the product. At Alarmate, we aim to decrease the percentage of car accidents due to drowsiness from 21% down to 0%. So if you want to save lives, hop in.
Thank you, Marlene. I would sure need one in my own car.
Yes, we all do.
Now we're going to open the floor for some questions. So I'm going to ask you to keep standing on stage. Any questions for Marlene?
My teammates and I will be happy to answer as well.
Thank you for the question. Does your device need calibration?
Okay, so the device, as is now, it doesn't need any calibration. The algorithm which works on machine learning will directly detect any eyes from the drivers, and it will form the eye convex, and it will directly know that this is the eye and this is closing. However, it's put on the dashboard, and it directly sees the face. However, for populations, for example, if we're talking like the Chinese population, where their eye opening is smaller, it would need a calibration, but this is a population-wide calibration in which the threshold of the beeper to go off will be much less than that we're using in this one here.
Thank you. Very, very ingenious design. What's the cost of manufacturing? We saw you proposing sales and other numbers, but not the cost. Cost of marketing, cost of all of that.
As of the cost, if we're manufacturing like a big quantity of product, it will cost around $60 for each unit we produce. Let's say if we want to produce like 500 units, it will cost around $60 per unit.
Have you included other costs? Marketing and other costs?
Yes, holistic.
In terms of your revenue as well as sales, financial.
Yes, so we have already formed a budgeting for a forecast of 3 years in advance. And it turns out that in terms of expenses, anything related to the startup, not only manufacturing, it goes around $30,000 for 2 to 3 years in advance. So this is why we asked for $100,000 that would cover us for at least for 2 years. لقدام يعني.
Good. Congrats, good stuff, exciting. Quick question regarding, do you need any kind of certification or to regulate this? Because you're basically taking responsibility of someone's life. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
On the technological basis, we're following standards, like, for example, IEEE standards for the machine learning algorithm, which works on that. However, from the legal point of view, we're consulting with lawyers that know the law well, and so far we haven't faced any difficulties. They haven't come up with any detriment for our design to be implemented or not, and so far it is allowable. However, we're still looking for small details, because this system, we're not saying that it won't kill you. You're not falling asleep because of it. However, it's helping you not to fall asleep. So it's not a cause for death. However, it's a measure of prevention.
Just a quick question from my side. You were mentioning that your main competitive advantage is that you have 2 different inputs for your sensors. The other competitors existing in the market have one or the other. Is that the only differentiator? Because those guys are quite advanced, right? They're already to market.
Well, if we go back to if we go back to this analysis, for example, the very high-end cars, the brands, they're working on the deviation from the lanes. However, if we take like a country like Lebanon, for example, where you don't have any lanes in the transportation means, this would be a very negative perspective. And the other 2 main competitors, they work on one technology. The Drive Guardian is still in the development phase. They still haven't taken it to the market, and it works on a different algorithm in the image processing. And we have studied their efficiency results, and we've tried to come up with even better efficiency.
Yeah, on that, why both? Yani why combine both? If you have better efficiency than Drive Guardian, it's good enough. You know, why are we complicating these both offerings? Usually a startup, you have like one unique selling proposition and go after it. 4, it's like a lot. So what are you solving, honestly, and the problem in those technologies? Are you faster than one of those? Or are you, on the next slide, you say it's do-it-yourself or not intrusive, etc. So is this differentiator enough vis-a-vis whole offerings?
Okay. One of the most differentiating things between us and these 2, well, one, the non-intrusive part is important because Harken needs calibration on the driver.
Why 2? Why combining both?
So the main problem that we try to solve when combining 2 is the failure, because either of these is very prone to failure. And this was very evident in the criticism of both technologies, that if it fails and you're unlucky enough that it fails while you're falling asleep, it's a big negative point. And this is a main criticism for both. So first we studied the reliability of each technology separate, and we wanted to see if we combine them, would we get a better chance, would we decrease the probability of failure of our device or not? And this proved to be a very major boost when combining both technologies, the heart rate and the...
So I would go and buy a Harken and a Drive Guardian.
If you
why do you propose both and go and invent one?
If you buy one of both...
I buy both. I buy both in my car.
Well,
what's the value added between your system and me buying both?
These 2 systems are not integrated into one system, and so there won't be any communication between the 2. And the setup of these two systems and the cost of these two systems will be much greater than buying one single embedded system.
So it's a cost issue, Kamal. So
Yeah,
what's
definitely.
the cost of those two? I mean, the
Beside
cost as
as-
in sorry, I'm maybe asking a lot, but what's
No, besides, as Rami mentioned before, so the Drive Guardian is a different algorithm for image processing. So it has a lower accuracy than the one we have developed. And in addition, both technologies work in parallel, but it's an or relationship. So in other terms, it's kind of a race. So the technology that provides a result first would output an alarm sound. So this would increase the speed, the response time of the alarm. So this is what we're aiming for as one of the 4 unique features.
So you're cheaper, faster? يعني,
As
you know, it's like, wow.
For the cost, you were talking about the cost of these. The Harken is currently being produced in Germany. It's still in the development phase, so you wouldn't know exactly the cost, but it seems to be a bit high-end. As for the Drive Guardian, it's in the region, it's claimed to be in the region of $150 to $200, where you're getting just the image processing for it. But still, it hasn't gone to market, so we don't know exactly the price that will be in the market. But this is the theoretical price that is being proposed.
Thank you, AlarmMate. Very interesting product. Best of luck. Our next startup coming up is CodeUp. A big round of applause to Tracy Boumeri, who will be pitching for us CodeUp.
The whole startup ecosystem is booming in the MENA region. But how much effort do these startup founders provide in order to find the right people to complete their software projects? And how much time do they waste? CodeUp is an easy-to-use application that is going to save entrepreneurs a lot of time. It uses a machine learning program that provides immediately teams of freelancers, removes their frustration, and saves them on time. Clients only need to log in the application and answer a few simple questions concerning their project, such as their budget or their time constraints. Our program immediately proposes teams that are optimized for their requirements, and that instantaneously. In order to ensure security control, freelancers will be vetted in subscription, and the application will send notifications to both sides every 2 weeks in order to make sure that the project is right on track. At the same time, CodeUp is taking action on the 8th development goal and fights unemployment rate trends and offers an opportunity for freelancers to work in their own country. With the promising expected rise of 35% of MENA-based tech startup funding in 2019 as compared to 2018, the total available market is $1.2 billion. Research shows that 20% of this funding goes to outsourcing software projects. So in the MENA region, the serviceable available market is $240 million. Assuming that only 1% of these startups would outsource their software projects to CodeUp, which corresponds to 5 projects accumulated in our first year, the serviceable obtainable market is $2.4 million. In order to expand our list of freelancers and make it more and more diversified, our main strategy consists of partnering with companies that teach all kinds of software skills, such as SE Factory or Udemy, etc. In order to get the word out to all the MENA startup founders, we are counting on accelerator programs and competitions. So we have been in this world for a year now. We have met a lot of passionate people who are very involved and who would love to connect us with their newly found talents. We will also make use of social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and of course referrals, to expand our list of freelancers and clients. Our main source of revenue comes from a 5% commission per project from both the client side and the freelancer side. Others were able to address the freelancers matching problem very effectively. However, their clients had to wait for weeks or even months for the company's employees to evaluate which candidates fit the requirements and form a valid team. The team members need to have complementary skills and synergy. This process is complex, time-consuming, and costly. The other current solution was to post clients' ideas online and wait for bids from interested freelancers. After the many interviews we have conducted, we have seen that the main reason why a potential client would not use this kind of platform is because they do not want their ideas posted online and available for anyone navigating the website. You can understand the gravity of the situation, especially for startup founders whose business mainly relies on their innovative idea. CodeUp is the first to use machine learning to address this freelancers matching problem. And the program's feedback evaluation will keep on making it more and more precise very fast, especially because we are specialized in software projects and our clients consist only of startups. We are a team of 4 computer and communication engineers. We've known each other for the past 4 years and love working together, and we are very excited about opening our own startup. We have already matched 3 startups with freelancers in the past 2 weeks. We have conducted more than 40 interviews and distributed and analyzed a survey in order to be able to really assess the problem in depth. We are done with the development of the application. We only need to make a few arrangements and to continue the testing of the machine learning part. We need to raise $110,000 for a 12-month runway. This is basically for marketing, research and development, and the scaling of the freelancers team. We also need to cover a 1-month project to ensure a professional encryption of our data. If you want to help innovative ideas flourish efficiently, contact us today. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Tracy. ScodeUp would be impressive for both freelancers and employers. Again, we're going to open the floor for questions. Nadim has a question. We'll start with him.
Hi. Thanks for the presentation. Just a quick question. I saw somewhere Lebanese diaspora. So is it like this is for the Lebanese, for Lebanese startups, or what's the, what's the slide? Are you solving this unemployment problem, or?
Like at the same time, we are helping on the AIDS development. We wanted to make a social impact, and therefore we are helping for the AIDS development goal, sustainable development goal. Sorry. And therefore, it provides economic growth, etc. And at the same time, for Lebanese people who are in the MENA region, they won't have to travel in case they do not find work in the country. So they can work from anywhere they want. So that's why we included this in the slide. But it's not the main problem we're addressing.
Good idea. We actually use Upwork for some of our projects. And how are you going to make sure to attract top talent to your platform?
So this is actually our main difficulty. It's attracting good people and a lot of freelancing developers to our application. So our budget is mainly going to go to advertising on multiple social platforms, and we're going to hire an HR officer and marketing officer to be able to really get into reach those capable and skilled freelancer developers.
Of course, we're going to evaluate each freelancers before we're going to ask for their GitHub link, their CV. We're going to do 2 interviews, one for their technical skills and one for their like how they behave under stress, etc.
Hi. Could I trouble you to go back to the competitors slide? So you have a competitor here that's pretty much closed down, right? Nabbish? Why did Nabbish close down? And Upwork, do you know what Upwork is historically, what it was before it was Upwork?
You know what it is now. I know what it is now, but before I don't.
So Upwork is actually the result of a merger of 2 separate freelancer platforms. And Nabbish is a localized version of the freelancer platforms. The reason why I'm asking both of these questions is that there's a huge network effect when it comes to these things, right? The more people who are on the platform, the more value anyone gets from the platform itself. The reason these 2 entities merged is so that they could have a bigger marketplace. And the reason maybe that Nabbish struggled was that she was never able to build that critical traction. Added to the answer that you just gave about actually checking each individual person, which is extremely unscalable, how do you plan to get to significant enough scale to matter?
If I understood well the question, it is how we're going to minimize the cost to interview each one of them. Yeah.
So your interview methodology is very unscalable today, right? And the other thing I'm saying is that size really matters here, and there are much, much larger competitors than you. And there are people who have tried to do the same thing and failed. Have you asked why? And if it is all about scale, how do you plan to beat the ones who are much, much larger than you today?
Okay, so we are aware that getting a background check on each one of them is a big cost. And this is why we're allocating a big portion of our budget on this. Now, for your, I think you said why a lot of them closed in the region. After a lot of interviews and a big survey, we found that in the MENA region, people like to get close to the freelancer and developers they're working with. So we're providing a more face-to-face contact with those people, targeting those regions specifically, and at a lower cost and faster, using our machine learning algorithm, building teams, and so
on. I think this leads to what you just said. You mentioned machine learning, like this is your competitive advantage, because you're trying to combine the best quality freelancer with the best type of job out there, right?
That's it.
That's the main differentiator.
Yeah, our machine, yeah.
Okay, great. Now, machine learning requires tons of data to actually come up with the good results. Since you're just starting, and this is your main differentiator, how are you planning to gather this data initially? How are you going to prove the quality initially?
So for machine learning is always improving. It's always the algorithm is always learning and improving itself. For now, we had a lot of people answering real life situations to be able to input into the algorithm as much real life situation as possible. So and we had for now a few hundred input of data. So we worked on this data and had a relatively good result for now. The algorithm was able to predict the output of the teams correctly.
Of course, we're not going to put it on the market before it's precise enough. And even when it's going to be on the market, we're going to use a rating system so that it will keep on making it more and more and more precise.
Thank you, Skodap. Very nice work, and best of luck. Our coming startup is PCMT. I'd like to welcome on stage John Karam, who will be pitching for us PCMT.
The construction industry is worth $10 trillion. And every year, hundreds of millions of dollars are wasted, thrown away, because of inaccuracy of data and cost overruns. So the main reason for that is the lack and inaccuracy of acquiring continuous on-site data. As a matter of fact, as much as 8 out of 9 construction sites are, as much as 8 out of 9 projects are usually overcost and do not finish on time. And this is why we're here to propose a solution for that. PCMT is an easy and efficient way of tracking progress and optimizing work schedules on site. And our solution is based on 2 things. First of all, we will place tracking chips on workers' hard hats and equipment in order to monitor the workforce dynamics on site, and it will be connected to a mobile application that will divide the project into zones according to activities, and it will know the number of workers on each activity to get forecasted delays. And it will also give corrective measures whenever needed. And because productivity is the most important input in our application, we've come up with a drone that takes visual data in order to track the progress on site and to have a more accurate productivity on certain activities. Now we have a quick demo to show you what we've already done. So we went to a construction site in June. We placed the microchips on the worker's hard hat for 3 activities: erection of formwork, installation of steel bars, and pouring concrete. And this is the way we place the microchip on the hard hat. And this is a map showing the number of workers on each activity. And this is a quick demo of our application. So we first enter your credentials, then the name, job and management condition, working days, productivity per worker, amount of work, and working hours. It will give you the expected number of workers for each activity. Now, depending on the actual number of workers on each activity, it will give you the forecasted delay, and the color will change according to the severity of this delay. Also tested the second feature, which is the drone. So we went on a construction site in Hazmiya, and we took aerial imagery of excavation works. We've come up with a 3D model of a stockpile, and knowing the time it took us to remove this stockpile, we knew the productivity on this site. Now, our market is a huge one, and it's growing really fast at a rate of 5% per year. And more than 50% of companies have demonstrated a will to integrate tracking and positioning systems in their sites. So this is the right time for this kind of solution. We're targeting construction management companies such as DJ Jones, contractors such as CCC and Mabani, and cost and schedule consultants. But how are we going to reach them? We're going to go to construction conferences such as the Big Five. We're going to use our network of professionals because we've all worked in different places of the world, in France, in Italy, in Riyadh, and also in Dubai. And we'll reach out to them. We'll send them emails, we'll knock at their doors, showing them our product and even offering them a free trial version. Now, how are we going to monetize? This is the most important thing. How are we going to make profit? So we'll sell a software as a service, and we'll price it for approximately $30 to $40 per worker per month. Now, this is a very average monetary value because it depends on the size of the project. It depends on the scope, the complexity, and the number of workers. We also have competition in the region. These guys are really doing a good job, wake up and red positioning. They have a very robust hardware system. They have very precise tracking system and monitoring system. But here in PCMT, we do things differently. With PCMT, you'll have real-time delay detection, work schedule optimization, and efficient progress tracking. So we don't just gather data, but we make sense out of this data. Our team is composed of 4 civil engineers, each one of them inclined towards a different path: R&D, marketing and sales, finance, and even product development. And we're all flexible, versatile, and ready to the different challenges that will come our way. And we also have some traction. So we've partnered up with Level and Scale, where we've tested our mobile application there. And we also talked to Bezi Group and tested our drone, because they have lots of excavation work. So we tested our drone. We now have a better estimate of the productivity. And in the next months, we'll test our application there too. And we talked to FCB, which is the contracting company in the Gulf. They're doing now a very big project, and they're interested in having our solution there. But they're waiting for us to have a more robust, a more accurate positioning system before going to them. We're asking to do that for about $150,000. It will be divided among R&D, marketing expenses, and operating costs. So what we want to do, mainly for the R&D, is to have a more user-friendly app that is better suited for construction people and a more accurate positioning system. And for the operating cost, we want also to hire electrical engineers and software developers to help us. So with PCMT, construction managers have a better estimate of their project progress, thus saving time and lots of money. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Very nice work. Best of luck. Jury, floor is yours for questions.
Thank you very much. Quite interesting. How do you define productivity again? Is it, you have two dimensions of productivity. Could you tell us in simple English?
So productivity usually, like for excavation works, is the number of meter cubes you can remove for an hour. So how do we do it? We take the drone and we take aerial imagery of stockpile. Stockpile is the amount of soil that you can remove with an excavator. And we create a 3D model, as shown here, in a photogrammetry software called Pix4D. We'll have, through this program, the volume of the stockpile, and knowing the time it took us to remove it, we'll have the productivity.
So then you only need the drone. You do not need to look at the workers' hard hats, if that's your only definition of productivity.
Yeah, no, but this is one input in the application. Because in the application, you will put the number of the work amount, the productivity, and the working hours, and it will give you the expected number of workers on each activity. Now, with a more accurate productivity, you will have a more accurate number of workers that should be there, and the workers will be located by the microchips. So it's two features. But the drone is just to have a better
If I may intervene, what we mean is that one of the major inputs in this application, the major factor that's going to determine the accuracy and the outcome of what you're monitoring and the delays we're calculating is the productivity. So how much output is going to be made. And we've just come up with this solution in order to have a better estimate of these delays, a better input for our application. And it's super easy to use, and it's more accurate than using the traditional ways where you're going to assume a lot of things. So you just send this drone, it's going to take aerial imagery, and it's most of all for activities that involve volumetric changes, anything from the erection of a wall, from excavation, from erecting columns, for example. So that's mainly our point.
If we started with excavation works because usually the productivity of excavation works differ a lot from site to site because soils are very different, and relying just on historical data or construction manuals could not be very accurate, especially for big projects such as dams and big highways.
So I think you're for a good start. If somebody gives you a six-figure job, or you continue working on this, which one do you take? A job for like $200,000 a year, or this? What do you do?
So obviously,
I would agree. What is a realistic salary?
A good salary.
Okay, so I think that okay, so a good salary, let's say. I think that like when you think about it, in order to achieve some great things, in order to live truly by your dreams, by what you want to do, I wouldn't see myself like sitting behind a desk and doing someone else's tasks all day. So I'd really like to do what I want. I'd really like to solve this problem, and I don't think that there's like a collision between the two. Like if I go ahead and work in a construction company for 2 years, 3 years, I think I could gain valuable experience that could help me improve my startup. Like I think it could be interesting. No, I could develop my startup a little bit, but I think that it's better to strike hard in the market. Like when you're ready, like just go ahead. I think that ultimately this is what I want to do, but some experience wouldn't be too bad. Most of all in a technical industry such as construction.
Just I think the segment you're after. So construction projects, they range from small villas to big malls to airports to etc. Which, if you had to prioritize a segment to go after, which one would it be? Like where does your product fit mostly, and why?
Very good question. So actually, I think our product is most effective for relatively bigger projects. like I would say in the scope of $10 million to $20 million, I don't know, construction of a mall, of a residential complex. Because if you're just doing a regular 5-story building, I don't think that this would be very interesting. Like you could see you have, okay, 5 workers on site. On this level, you have 3 workers. This is not the real point. But when you're doing, I don't know, a big mall, when you're doing a highway, for example, it's really unfeasible to just like count the number of workers. This makes the job really easier. So I would say in anything like roughly $20 million would be really interesting, $10 million, a mall, such things. Maybe later on highways. This would be really interesting. Yeah. It should be our target, yeah.
Thank you, John. Thank you, guys. PCMC
Thank you very much.
Sounds excellent. Thank you. Our next startup is 3D. A big round of applause to Yahya Khalid Al Ali, who'll be pitching for us 3D.
It's 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning. You are in the mountains, and a cup of coffee is in your hands. And all what you're seeking is a beautiful view that could help you relieve all of your pains, like the one behind me. However, all what you can see is this, a bunch of pale trees. Why? Because of a moth that invaded pine trees, and because not a single serious solution has been put on the table. So because of this moth only, and because of it's located on pine trees, a value worth of $1 million on an annual basis is being lost for Lebanon. So that's a big concern socially. So now talking about the solution, why are we here today? And what is 3D? 3D is a service company that utilizes a drone, chemical palettes, which are demonstrated by paintball palettes for now, and a shooting mechanism to deliver a highly accurate, robust, and a cost-effective solution. So talking about the business plan, we plan on having, we plan on launching our services in 2020. With that, so in Lebanon, we have around 15.6 million pine trees only, spanned around 24,000 hectares. And that is around 18%. So they are distributed among 4 main segments, with the private entities and farmers holding around 82% of the total. So what do we offer? We offer services, we offer the actual product for research institutes, and we offer data analytics to improve research. So now, talking about a tax-heavy product, and talking about farmers being as our main target segment, we're talking about risk. So how to mitigate it? So around 80% of the total farmers in villages would adhere and would trust a mayor's decision. And that's why we plan on having those mayors as our main sales agents. But why do we need digital marketing? It's to inform each one of you guys that yes, now with 3D, you can save a tree at a low price. So talking about the business model, we plan on launching our services in 2020 at a price of $3.33. We plan on having a sales revenue of around $135K by treating around 40,000 trees. Now that's a conservative estimate because we're dealing with a tax-heavy product. So drones in agriculture is a market that definitely could be identified by 3 main KPIs, which are safety, autonomy, and cost effectiveness. Now, if we look at those, we identify a gap in the cost effectiveness section. And that's why we really plan on launching a high quality service for a low amount of money, priced at around 50% lower than the closest fierce competitor. So our value proposition in a nutshell, we plan on targeting farmers through a precision agriculture model. We plan on saving more than 100 trees, a value of $600,000, and then through a precision and analytics-based service. So our team is composed of 3 passionate engineers that are willing to learn. And that's our greatest skill. So I myself getting into financial operations. So now we have 2 advisors without whom we would definitely have not done the MVP. So Professor Nasim Dahir is our advisor from the Faculty of Engineering and Agriculture, Architecture. And Professor Nabil Nimr, he serves as the public sector advisor in entomology. So thank you for helping us in doing this. And thank you for being part of this family. So private owners and farmers are pessimistic nowadays. Why? Because governments and municipalities, unfortunately, do not take this issue seriously. So, and that helped us validate this product fit among 3 different segments in the past 2 weeks. So we plan on raising $240,000 in CapEx, and that the bulk is in the drone section, the technical setup. Why? Because we plan on having a drone swarm that surveys the forest in a matter of minutes. So now the video. Amin Malouf says in his book that trees must accept their fate. However, we have a different say in that. And excuse me, it would be in Arabic. وَقُلْ لِلَّذِي زَعَمَ أَنَّ لِلشَّجَرَةِ قَدَرٌ مُسَلَّمٌ بِهِ كَلَّا كَلَّا إِنَّ لِلشَّجَرَةِ رِجَالًا وُجِدُوا لِإِغَاثَتِهَا. Thank you.
Thank you, Yahya, and well said. What a creative solution. Our nature sure needs a lot of help to preserve it.
Thank you for your passion and energy. I love the name 3D, the color, the green, etc. يعني بقى thank you very much. ما راح أحكي أكثر من هيك. Just luckily I saw the video and I understood لأنه صراحة ضعت بالأول what you're trying to sell whatever. Just I heard the number $3.33 that you guys. What is this and who pays and what's the?
That's the price of the service that we plan on launching it, our 3D product. Meaning, and if you are a farmer and you want a tree, you want to save a tree, now you can scan it, treat it for every single moth, like the nests that we saw already. You can treat every single tree from every single moth and save a value worth of $6,333 for $3.33. That tree, each dead pine tree, is worth by our entomologist $6,330. From environmental cost to medical cost to its value. So now, farmers, and recently, every single other solution is priced at around $7.2 per tree. So it didn't make this affordable for farmers. And 3.33 was the pivot of many surveys with farmers, and we reached like offering the highest quality product for the lowest amount of money.
The question is about the IP. What do you do? So you buy the drone ready, and then you buy the pesticide ready, and then you put them together. I want to know what is the intellectual property of the startup.
We outsource the drone, but what we do is program. Then we need a capex to do like small. It's kind of the palette of this gun. We'll put the pesticide in it, and after that, we'll definitely treat it by shooting on the actual nest.
Drones that shoot exist, right?
But they don't shoot an actual thing. Now there's drone seed that shoots seeds to plant trees and to plant trees in forests. However, that's not enough because parasites by themselves, they relocate. So meaning if you really plant 1,000 trees, those 1,000 trees could be invaded by the same parasite. So now we're shooting a chemical. That's the camera, we program it. We program everything. Now this was programmed by Ali on around 1,000 images.
So computer vision, it's trained on a very big data set. It's collected we collected about 1,000 images. 40% were taken by from actual forests, actual nests. Then we played on the data set for better performance. We augmented it. We added noise and rotation to play on the shape. And the other 30% of the data set is based on synthesized images. So we used software to synthesize the images.
So a quick question, why pine trees only?
However, we have 60,000 trees, so we're validating our model on this.
But it's scalable to all types of trees?
So what would differ from a pine tree to, let's say, an apple tree or an olive tree is nothing but the type of chemical. So our entomologist advised us that our next stage would be testing on apple trees. So with that, we have a special type of pesticide, and that pesticide should be shot on, let's say, a branch. And that's it. That's the whole treatment. So now we're not spraying or we're not rotating around the tree in order to scan it all. We're just playing the game from a distance. And with this distance, we're doing the treatment at an efficient manner.
How much human intervention is needed for you to treat a tree?
Zero human intervention. This is all
so
autonomous.
You leave the drone and
yes.
it's...
So autonomously using computer vision, it scans the whole tree, it detects where the location of the nests, and once it locates the nest, it shoots it using the chemical pellets, using precision agriculture. So, yes.
What about the $3.3? How did you arrive to that figure?
We did our business plan at $3.33. Well, we'll be at around 15% net margin, knowing that we operate only 8 months for pine trees. We could definitely do as pharmaceuticals do by raising the price and bracketing high and targeting only a niche segment. However, that's not the game. Meaning, we're really not planning on having a big profit margin. On the contrary, we're planning to expand socially and to preserve our own segments.
Actually, I just got the question looking at this photo behind you. It's a very dense forest. So the drone is going to, just a practical question on this. The drone is going to recognize the tree. How will it be able to navigate down and up without, like, from a practical point of view?
So as I said, we're playing the game now from a distance. So you don't need to rotate around the tree. That's the first thing. Second thing, when talking about pine forests, the forests where the pine moth exists would be trees that are separated by each other around 1 to 2 meters. Now, when we're talking about apple trees, olive trees, whatever, we're playing the distance up. So we will definitely need another setup. We'll need a gun that rotates as well, and we'll need definitely a drone whose camera could be more flexible. So now we're constrained with what we have. However, in the future, if we really can raise the capex that we really want, we'll definitely do a good job with
that. Just the value of the trees, $6,333. And the farmers are willing to pay for this. Do they see this value? You've calculated this kind of imaginary value number, social value, environmental value, and all sorts of other values. But the person who's buying this from you is not valuing that tree in this way.
So that value is as per our entomologist that serves as a public advisor, as an entomology advisor for the public sector. So he gave us this value, and that's how they evaluate a pine tree, a dead pine tree in Lebanon.
Yes, but that's not who's going to buy that. No, yeah, so someone has to have the incentive to buy this. Your question is not what is the absolute value of a pine tree, because that doesn't exist. An expert gave you a value, right? But your question should be, what is the value of this tree for the person that I'm selling this to? Yeah, for the person who's buying this from you.
When we are talking about the pine tree, we have a value worth of $90 per tree from the pine nuts that a farmer can gain from that.
Excellent. That's what I'm looking for.
And
that's what I'm looking for.
3.33 is minimal. It's nothing but 3%.
Excellent.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, 3D.
Thank you.
Impressive. I can't help but share what the billionaire Branson, the founder of Virgin Group, says. Entrepreneurship in its truest form is about identifying a gap in the market and creating a product of use to fill that hole and make people's lives better. Well, you did it, guys. So 3D wraps up our first round of pictures. Now it's time for our jury. We're not going to bother you to come up on stage for the 20 minutes panel that was scheduled as part of the event. We're a bit late in the schedule, so I'm going to ask you a question myself. We'd like you to share your experiences with us. Maybe an experience of a grad who you've mentored or invested in, supported. I don't know. Shall I repeat the question? So I'd like you to share with us. I'd like you to share with us your experience. Maybe you've across your career you came across a grad and you have supported in mentorship to start his career. And
what? Are you late?
You can pass it. You can pass it on. You can pass it on until you.
No, I can talk for hours.
You do have somebody in mind.
That's it.
If you do have somebody in mind.
Somebody. I have lots of bodies in mind. Actually, for 25 years, I taught engineering at UZIB, so I've helped a lot of students, and I teach entrepreneurship. And the thing that I say for the students is that really you're lucky. You have no idea how lucky you are these days. And أكيد luckier than when we started. ولكن عم نحكي إنه today you have no excuse to start your business. It's really low cost. And as Elias showed the graph, that really there are lots of people that want to help you and are ready to help out. So what I can say today, and really to cut it short, is that AUB's got talent, and please keep up the good work. We really need innovative startups, and what better place than university and engineers to come up with innovative ideas. So that's what we're looking for, really fresh ideas, and voila. So please keep at it. And I can say that there are a lot of startups that made it. Maybe you didn't show any of those success stories, but I mean, lots of events going on. Please go out and network and go to startup events, meet people, take ideas. I mean, don't get out of here without really getting inspired or getting new ideas. And please come up with projects, because I mean, if anything, startups do solve problems. And so we've seen that all of those startups are really niche because they solve problems. Not only they solve problems, and they create jobs. And you guys are going out to find jobs. So what a better things to do than create your own job. So please, get inspired and keep at it. Thanks.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say, for those of you who are graduating, I think it's a tall order for us to ask you all to start a company. I think a lot of you will not end up starting a company. I also think starting a company is really hard, and starting a company at 21 or 22 is even harder. But I would suggest that actually a lot of you join a startup. Try to work at a startup. A couple of reasons for this. The first is, likelihood is you'll get more exposure, more responsibility, more opportunity than you would at a large corporation. In a small environment, everybody fills bigger shoes. And if you're good, people will give you more opportunities because there's more work to be done always. And the other thing is you can understand what is life at a startup really like. Are you willing to survive in this oftentimes chaotic and confusing and ups and downs and working, certainly not 9 to 5, but 9 to 9, 9 to 10, or whatever it takes, doing whatever it takes. One day you're doing this, the other day you're mopping the floor, the third day you're talking to a client, fourth day. So I would say try working at a startup. There are some great internship opportunities. Beirut Digital District has a summer internship program. We're always looking for interns at ArabNet, so this I would totally agree with. And with what Nicolas said, there's a lot of events happening. ArabNet Beirut, June 12 and 13, free for all students to attend. If you have an idea, you can pitch it, apply to pitch your idea, get a lot of exposure. People who pitch their ideas move on to get funding and get supported. So it is a shameless pitch, but I'm not asking you for anything. I'm only giving you stuff. So arabnet.me, go and get some benefit.
Thank you, Ahmad.
So I'm the only one here from a multinational. I'm the only one who's going to talk about hiring and not starting. And I will speak about intrapreneurship. There are those companies out, and Deloitte is one of them, who will allow you to be like an entrepreneur, but inside the company. So it is not either or. You don't all have to now, at present, while you graduate, go and start up a company unless you have a very developed idea, unless you have a very good business plan, unless you have all the criteria for having a good startup. The other option is to find a job, and find a job in a company which is a learning organization. So I'm going to just give you a few tips on how to choose the job and the company. Firstly, you're mostly even beyond the millennial generation. You're known in our circles, my generation and the younger generation here, as people who بصلتكم محروقة شوي. So you want to change jobs, you want gratification all the time, you want to do a lot of things together. And I'm going to suggest to you to step back a little bit and think more of what is it you want to do in life. But you don't have to think, what do I want to do in 20 years? So in your selection of companies, how do we select you? How do I choose you over him to work at Deloitte or other consulting firms like myself, like the one I'm a partner in? We would look for differentiators, and this is just the type of work we would look for. Even if you are not on this stage, we would look for something that you have that your peers don't have. Projects you've worked on, internships that you've worked on. Because we're hiring skills these days. We're hiring potential these days. We're hiring lifelong learners these days. And you have to show the soft skills, all these opportunities to stand on stages and speak and defend an idea. If it has not come your way, go look for them. Because these are the ones that will let you really succeed, whether you end up in your own company, work for a startup, work at Deloitte, or work anywhere else. So these are transferable skills. The technical part will anyway be obsolete in a few years, and you're going to have to work on yourself. But if you were to have a choice, go to an organization which, when you leave, will call you alumni, because they will think of you as, in a way, learners, and they will have a curriculum for you in the first year and a curriculum in the second year and so on, and where you could have a bit of variety in your work. So those who describe companies, and I don't remember who said it, and said, I will not work behind a desk. You don't necessarily need to work behind a desk. But to be honest, in a startup, you do work behind your computer all the time behind a desk. You're not there in a tree forest and spraying all sorts of chemical pellets and what have you. So don't have that image, because you're spending already a lot of time there. Only look for how your work will be varied, how your work will always allow you to learn. And we're here anyway later on, so if any of you have any questions, I'm sure we'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Rana, for your inspiring work.
It's difficult to go after Rana. Very difficult. But I'm one of the founders of the MIT Enterprise Forum Business Plan Competition. We started in 2006, so now you are much luckier than the entrepreneurs that were there 10 years ago. I'm happy to have coached people like Hind Hbai'a or Rana Shmaitilli, Little Engineers and Instabeat, and Yellow, and others. Unfortunately, not all startups make it. But what I wanted to tell you as a computer engineer that turned kind of political or into policy, stay technical as long as you can. And money comes and goes. I've lived poor, I've lived rich. What doesn't go away is how you feel about yourself and the pride you have from doing something that you really love and that you really contribute to. So go for it. Give yourself a year to think about what you want, follow your passion, as they say, and give it all you take. Today, you know, we saw 2 out of the 4, or 3 out of the 4 projects we saw have machine learning in some kind. This is the future. If you don't do it yourself in such projects, there is no company in Lebanon that will give you such a job. So nobody will teach it to you. So learn it by yourself, and then you can go on and do whatever you want.
Thank you, Salam.
For the young chap who said رجال الشجر إلهم رجال, please add woman.
I do agree.
الشجر بلبنان في رجال وستات بيحموه مش بس رجال. And I would like to see in your company a woman, because if you come to us, Nicola, in the Lebanese Women Angel Fund, you will not pass. We will not give you money because in Totleti engineers, you do not have a woman amongst you.
Well said. Thank you. And me, myself, I'd like once again to quote Steve Jobs. He says, "You've got to find what you love. Keep looking. Don't settle." Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our second round of pitchers. I'd like to give a big round of applause to Ahmed Mahmasani. He'll be pitching for us Solar Up.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. Okay. Did you know that Lebanon? Did you know that Lebanon has one of the highest electrical bill in the Middle East, in the MENA region, which is around $140 per month? Not only that, in Lebanon in particular, power outages can range up to 12 hours a day, especially in the Bekaa Valley. Furthermore, the AQI index in the Middle East, which is known as the air quality index, is tending towards unhealthy within the next 5 years. So what we need is an emission-free, sustainable, and a cost-efficient solution to such power problems. So the team came up with Solar Up. Solar Up upgrades the use of a regular solar panel to be used as pavements and to be integrated within the infrastructure. This is the prototype, and this is the demo. So as you can see, it's you can walk easily through on it. And the thing is, we are working on testing it and walk on it when under the sun. So what we noticed is that there's around a 10% drop in power when we walk on it. And that's considering the weather forecast was a little bit cloudy. When it's fully sunny, it's around less than 5%. So this fluctuation is mainly when we walk on it, and it's mainly constant when it's not. Okay, our product provides robustness, slip resistance, and limits dust accumulation at a cost-efficient manner. Now, if we take a look at the solar industry, we notice that the price per watt in the US is around $4, and in Lebanon fluctuates at around $3. We are willing to provide an infrastructural solution at around $2.75 per watt. As a market strategy, we came out with 3 phases. The first phase is an R&D phase, in which we are planning to finalize the MVP and prepare to launch within around 6 months. The second phase is basically, once launching, we plan to execute a B2C model where we execute projects upon demand. Then, after 12 months to around 2 years, we plan to expand to a B2B strategy where we deal with property developers, large space owners, as well as contractors. In order to execute our marketing strategy, we plan to apply those marketing tools, which span from exhibitions to third-party showrooms, and as well as an impact on the social media. Now, who are our competitors? Well, mainly they have 3 main competitors, which are power generator industry, Tesla Corporation, and other solar firms. Well, power generators are not as cost efficient and are not as environmentally friendly, whereas Tesla Corporation provides efficient solutions, but at a very high cost. Other solar firms are not as cost efficient, especially in our domain of study. Our team is for mechanical engineering students who are striving and working hard in order to initiate that startup. Where are we now? We have basically conducted a study in southern Lebanon, and we came up with a number that people are willing to invest around. People willing to invest in such an amount that is willing to cover 3 hours of electrical outage. We have a well-ready prototype, and further studies in the Bekaa Valley are in progress, as well as the architectural touch on the product. We are asking for architectural assistance, as mentioned before. Furthermore, we are also asked for marketing and consulting expertise in order to propagate our product to the market. We also ask for a price of $500,000 in order to cover material costs, marketing, operational expenses, and R&D. It's about time to solar up, don't you think? Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. We do need solar up in Lebanon, that's for sure. So, judges.
Do you build the PV cells?
No, we get them, but we modify them. We add some things on.
Yeah, so can you tell us where is your contribution? Because basically it's PV cells with a covering that people can walk on?
It's a PV with certain coating that we use in order not to decrease its efficiency. Plus, we add another layer in order to make it sustainable for walking. But the trick is in the design, in its design, where we make sure it limits the dust accumulation, as well as it self-cleans itself.
Okay, and so the material that you're covering it with is also something that you purchased, not something you created. The innovation from your side is specifically the design? The combination?
It's the design and the certain combination of the materials that we use, which has not been found, which has not been used so far and utilized in an efficient manner.
And there are already such projects in implementation globally.
Yes.
With the streets, actually,
yes.
On which cars drive, right?
True.
What's the differentiating factor between you guys and these projects? I'm not in China or somewhere. I just vaguely remember reading this. Maybe you could tell us a bit more.
Well, the thing is, we as a team, we noticed that there are a couple of places in the world where it's actually implemented, like in Netherlands and in Croatia and in Canada. So we want to try as much as possible to implement it here because it is a step forward into using green energy. Well, but the main added value is the design.
But you could import it. Is it cheaper to do what you're doing than import it from the Netherlands or from China and use it in Lebanon and then get the trademark and make it exclusive for you and? Well,
true, we can import it, but it's for us. We know it's much more cost efficient. We can benefit by doing it here because it's much more cheaper instead of importing it.
But did you think about who your clients are? Because I'm thinking I'm living in a building that has 20 apartments. I would probably need 500 meters of this, and there is no space around my building. How much space do you need for to completely power up a building of 8 floors?
Well, the thing is, it's going to take a lot of space, so that's why we are mainly targeting large spaces. But at the moment, the current place that we're in, we can cover a certain amount of outage, not an entire power.
I think my question is, who's going to buy this from you? Who's your exact customer? So,
Okay, initially it starts as like this. The thing is, it will go up to start dealing with contractors in order to cover large spaces. That's our main target. The thing is, it can also be governmentally oriented. But this is possibly for a later stage. But at an initial stage, we mainly target certain individuals. Then we grow into targeting contractors and possibly later certain government contracts.
Okay, thank you. Solar up. I'd like to ask a question myself. Could you patent your work? Is it patentable?
Yes, it is patentable.
So that's nice. Instead of just importing something, they have their own system. Okay, thank you. So our second startup coming up is Oyster. I'd like to invite on stage Karim Taleh. Karim, floor is yours.
Sunday morning, 5 a.m., you're packing your bag for a hike. On the way there, you stop, you buy 6 liters of water, struggle to fit them into your bag, and then halfway through the hike, you're out of water. What do? Well, the main need for any hiker is having a reliable resource of potable water. During a hiker would need around 1 liter per hour to stay hydrated and energized. And for hikes that range from several hours to a day, you would need 10 liters of water. That's 10 kilograms on your back. What if you are going to camp or staying for a couple of days? So 97% of Earth is covered with water. And hikers will tend to choose a trail with water resources on the way. But 99% of the water on Earth is unsuitable for drinking. What Oyster offers is a desalination plant that is portable just like your phone, but for half of its price. It's a handheld 2-liter bottles. If you fill it with any type of water, it will desalinate it for you at a rate of 1 liter per hour. We use a 2-stage heating technology that we developed. It uses temperature and pressure modulation to make sure that we use the least amount of energy possible. It is powered by thermal solar and electrical solar power when you're outdoors. And if you are indoors, it has a backup battery that will work. So here we're showing a video, the team working on the proof of concept. So please note that this is a proof of concept of our mathematical model and that everything is oversized. We did this on purpose so that we can work around the prototype freely. These are the meters showing the pressure and the temperature. We dynamically change the pressure according to the temperature to make sure we use the least amount of energy. And here it shows the current, which varies, of course, depending on the sun. So the most important thing to note is that when we are desalinating, we are purifying any type of water. So this is not done usually. And here you can see us collecting water from the collection tank. And this was done in under an hour with low sun conditions. And we were limited to the sun, but still managed to have around half a bottle of water filled, which is very good. So you might be asking yourself, why are we limiting ourselves to hikers? So we are not. We will start by testing our product with outdoor activity enthusiasts. This is because it's an accessible market that have the means to buy our product. But later, we will move to nomads, and we will start by reaching out to these nomads via competitions and potential investors. Later on, we will go to NGOs, which may have and maybe trying to help refugees or other people who live in deserted areas. And in 20 years, one for every 2 people in this room will not have access to potable water. So by then, we will be reaching you. Our market strategy is to start by targeting hikers and campers, groups and hikers and campers. Actually, a last year's study shows that 45 million US youth are active hikers, and 15.5% of the youth in Europe hike regularly. After we have gained momentum through networks of hikers, we want to go to sports retail stores. In 2018, the hiking equipment and the outdoor equipment industry had a revenue of around $4 billion. So we will be making revenues from sales and maintenance for now. But later on, after we have developed our model, we will be incorporating our products with international sports retail brands. We want to incorporate this product into their backpacks to create the ultimate hiking experience. Although there are no competitions that have the same features, but there are some that can be considered as potential competitors. There is Spectra, that is a portable briefcase-sized bag. It costs around $6,000 and is used for military purposes. There is Katahdin, that is a handheld and hand-operated device, so you have to pump it in order to filter water. And there are other straws and bottles that can filter water, but they don't desalinate. So this takes us to our main competitive advantage, is that we desalinate water. We can treat any type of water, even seawater or potentially sewage water. So we have an optimized technology that is very compact and makes it the ultimate hiking gadget. And our product is affordable. It costs around $350, and making it accessible to most outdoor activity enthusiasts. Our team is formed by Ram, Jean-Michel, and I. So it started out as an FYP project thanks to Dr. Riyad Shadid. And then we realized its startup potential, so here we are. The main strength is that we work in harmony, and that we have technical and innovative minds, making any problem solvable. So we have developed a working prototype, and we are working on optimizing it. We have participated in the Darwaza competition and reached semifinals. We are willing to participate in the Oman Humanitarian Desalination Challenge and the Sheikh Zayed Sustainability Prize. We have also got a lot of positive and supportive feedback from networks of hikers and sports retail shops through the interviews we conducted. In order to reach our target for the next year, we are looking for around $80,000. This is to make our product more compact and to produce our product. We are also looking for product design professionals in order to make our product aesthetically good looking. And we are looking also to get exposure to major manufacturers in order to produce on a large scale, and also exposure to outdoor sports brands so that we can partner up with. Oyster will not only hydrate the hikers, but it will potentially revolutionize the way you drink water. I'm Karim, and this is Oyster, and thank you.
Thank you, Karim. Thank you, Oyster.
I've seen some desalination plants in the Gulf, and they're massive buildings that use a huge amount of energy, right? You're claiming that your technology is going to bring that down to a bottle, right? Did I get this correctly? And solar powered.
Yes.
And you're targeting a niche of a customer base, hikers, nomads.
We're starting off there.
We're starting with that. Why not go after the factories that the governments who are building those? Because your technology could probably not go today to the bottle, but you could bring it down to the size of a room maybe, and that would save millions of dollars for big governments across the Gulf. Like, that seems to me a more lucrative opportunity to tackle first. And then as you build momentum, you can start scaling down the technology to a bottle.
Actually, on a larger scale, it's been proven that other treating techniques is more profitable and efficient, such as reverse osmosis and other known techniques. That's why we chose desalinating to evaporate the water, and thus we can integrate it in a smaller design and decentralize the.
So the good thing here is that solar power is free. So we are not really concerned about efficiency in terms of energy requirement, since we have solar energy, but we are limiting ourselves to efficiency in terms of size. So if we wanted to be very efficient in terms of energy only, we would have a different technology that could help the big industries, but we are mixing both size and power.
But so I put salt water inside that bottle, and I close it, and I put it in the sun for an hour, and it becomes potable?
Yes.
How? بتبخر الماء بترجع بتفوتها ولا انه how do you guarantee انه رح يصير في evaporation?
So it's basically evaporation, and we're using dynamic temperature and pressure modulation. I can give you an example that you can visualize. So if you all know how electronic cigarettes work, you have a cartridge that is filled with some liquid, and then when you, and this liquid is dipped inside a resistance. So when this resistance heats up, and there is this pressure from you taking like a sip, the evaporation will occur. So we are using a similar technology that is very compact, just like electronic cigarette, but it's a bit bigger on a scale of a 2-liter bottle and will make you drink water.
So is this a new technology? I mean, it can be copied, yeah? I mean, anyone can do it.
Sorry?
Anyone can do it. I mean, is this something that...
No, no. So anyone, like everything in the world, no, anyone can do everything. So we are the first people who took a technology and a mathematical model that is existing, and we optimized it and we developed it. So
there is some IP secret sauce that you have?
Yes, we have a secret sauce. If I gave it to you...
No, don't. And so don't. And are you sure that you're gonna it can be compressed, you know, and be on a backpack? Are you sure that this might happen? Because this is the key.
We are very confident because what we already did proves that we were able to. So okay, our main thing that limits the operation is the size of the panel. So this is the hardest thing that is limiting our operation. Yes, so this is energy. And we are confident that the size of the panel will be sufficient to ride on a hiker's backpack.
Okay.
And then you will be able to desalinate the water because we already took some measurements and we know how much it's going to take energy.
Two last things. So one is that I have to have, when I hike, I have to have water somewhere, you know, to fill the thing. So it's a limitation, but مش مشكلة. And the last thing is that if this is the case, 80K, I would go on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, in your case, and put a campaign to raise the 80K and develop this product, because this is how others are doing. Do you know about Kickstarter?
Probably, yeah.
Do you know Kickstarter? Crowdfunding?
We will probably do that.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thanks. Good luck.
Our prototype only proves our concept for now. But yeah, the one you saw in the video. And it was big because we wanted to use more pressure modulation and be able to increase the temperature as much as we want using a bigger resistance.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you, Oyster. Now for our next startup, I'd like to welcome on stage Fatima Makki and Hiba Ghalayini, who will be pitching for us Aquila.
PUBG, Fortnite, League of Legends, hundreds and hundreds of video games that we hear about every single day. I'm not even a gamer, but I can tell you the pros and cons of every single one of them. Why? Because I live in the Arab world. I live in a region where almost 30% of its population plays video games. It's a $1 billion market with a 25% of growth rate. It's a very competitive market though. One day you're in, the other day you're out. That's why video game companies are looking for feedback from their customers in order to enhance their products, increase their revenues, and to survive the market. This type of data is abundant on social media. However, it's largely expressed in Arabic dialects. And we have lack of social media listening tools that analyzes Arabic dialects, especially Khaliji dialects. That's why we are building Aquila. Aquila is a social media listening tool that collects and analyzes tweets in Arabic dialects using natural language processing and visualizes the internet traffic. And now our software developer Hiba will be explaining how Aquila works.
So to show you how Aquila works, we're going to take the example of Muhammad. He's a marketing executive at a large gaming company called Ubisoft. So Aquila starts first by taking a keyword from you. So for example, Muhammad input here Far Cry 5. Far Cry 5 is one of the flagship games at Ubisoft, and he inputs any other keyword that he finds relevant to his search. After that, Aquila mines the data online. And processes them using natural language processing tools and builds knowledge graphs out of them, giving Muhammad the capability of seeing the knowledge graph of any individual tweet that he wants. Not only that, but Aquila will also give him insight about the market. So for example, Muhammad noticed that people are complaining that Far Cry 5 is too slow and it's expensive. So now Muhammad can go back to management at Ubisoft and give them an insightful suggestion on revising the price of Far Cry 5 and fastening up the servers. Not only that, but Muhammad can also tell them which influencers to target in order to change this image. So the social media analytics market is expected to reach $7.8 billion by 2025. And the way we're planning on integrating ourselves into that market is by partnering up with the marketing agencies while also targeting gaming companies for now and marketing ourselves online. Now the fee that we're going to ask is going to be customized per client. So the more they want, the more they pay, while also offering our tool as a SaaS solution in later stages for a monthly fee of $1,000. But we're not the only ones on the market. You will find other tools such as Crimson Hexagon, Sprinkler, and Crowd Analyzer. However, all three of them use an artificial intelligence-based analysis that will tend to give you a high percentage of neutral results, such as 70 to 80%. Not only that, but Crowd Analyzer and Crimson Hexagon do not specialize in Arabic dialect specifically, so they do not understand it as good as we do. Which is why Aquila is a social media monitoring tool that is built for the Arabic world. It processes Khaliji dialect and will customize the data that you ask for will customize the data that you want while showing it to you in a user-friendly manner. And the people behind it all is a team of 3 highly skilled computer and communications engineers, where I specialize in software development. My teammate has experience in natural language processing research, and my third teammate has a minor in business. Now, Aquila today has its own model that is sponsored by the United Nations, and it covers 4 Khaliji dialects, and it already has gotten the attention of Ubisoft. But we're also planning on expanding to more dialects later on to be more inclusive of the Arab world, which is why we're asking for a fee of $100,000 to cover our operational fees, our marketing fees, and our technical fees. So today, thanks to Aquila, the market is more accessible, making the future of market study بالعربي. Thank you.
Thank you, Aquila.
Question for you. Why do you think no one else has done this in Arabic yet?
They have done it in Arabic because Crowd Analyzer, for example, they have an Egyptian dialect. However, there's no Khaliji dialect still in the market. We're the first ones to build one.
Why do you think that's the case? These guys have traction, they have customers. I'm sure their customers are asking for this, right?
Yeah.
And their customers are definitely probably, or most likely in the GCC, right? Less likely to be in Egypt. Why haven't they built it yet?
Because the biggest problem, we think, it's access. So accessing the Khaliji market is not very doable, for one. 2, the people that usually build the models, for some reason, they tend to be not Arab, or at least not Khaliji. So they don't really know how to understand what people work in. And third of all, it's a really time-costly thing. So for example, Fatima has been working on the dialect ever since we started FYP, from interviews and other things.
Usually building the dialect, especially when it comes to Khaliji dialects, it's not only really time consuming, but also you have lots of dialects in the same country. For example, every time I interview someone from KSA or from Yemen or from Bahrain or any other dialect, I find a new dialect that actually depends on the region that he is from or on the city. Also, as Hiba mentioned, you see that a lot of people who worked on the dialects are not Arab. And building a dialect, it's really taking lots of time. For example, people who built the dialect for the Levant, it took them 10 years, and they are still working on it. That's because basically they don't know Arabic. And we are taking their model as our base, and we are doing the interviews on a very frequent
one-on-one meeting based.
Everyone takes like an hour and a half to just take the information we need.
Look, the one thing I'd add is I think if you can crack the natural language processing engine, then that opportunity is much larger than the marketing listening that you're talking about. The biggest problem is that nobody has figured out how to do the NLP for Arabic. So once you figure that out, there's going to be 100 ways for you to make money with that. Chatbots for banks, other than what you're talking about. But I think that's going to just prove a lot harder than you're thinking. And I would add, look at other competitors. Meltwater exists. I didn't see them on your list. Sakhr has tried to do this with Arabic. They're the first Arabic computing people. Why haven't they been able to process all the data? Look at those.
So we do use Meltwater. I pay them a lot of money every year. What will you give me that is different? Because I'm willing to pay it to you.
Actually, I think our biggest advantage is, okay, there's something that we did not want to mention because we did not want to go too technical, but most of the tools currently use something called sentiment analysis. I'm not sure if you know about it. Okay. Uncommonly, we decided we're not going to go for sentiment analysis. I'm not going to sell you something that tells you if something is positive or negative. Because if I talk to you now, can any of you tell me if I'm being sarcastic or I'm lying? And it's really hard. So depending on a tool and giving the tool enough data, enough artificial intelligence or anything to make it understand what is positive and what is negative is not completely feasible yet, at least. So what we're going to give you is real insight, real analysis that you can use in whatever way that you want, other than the fact that we really are the first ones to use a Khaliji dialect. So I know, 08, for example, you are interested in Saudi Arabia, for example. So we're probably going to be the first ones to give you access to that market on social media, and they are very frequent on Twitter, for example.
And we're also doing it using morphological analysis. Others are doing it using annotations. And annotation every single word in the dialect is really hard, especially when you want to go to the morphology of it with every single person.
Actually, I just want to mention something that the tool we're using is thanks to our advisor. He developed his own tool called Sarif, and we're using it in our tool, basically.
Sorry, just because I'm not aware of that market totally, but how do you compete with the others that my colleague just mentioned? Like, how does your Arabic is better? What's the KPI? How do you measure it? And what is your current metric that's much better than what exists?
Well, the number one competitive advantage we have is access to a completely new market. And the Khaliji market is a really big market, and we're the only ones who cover it so far. And we cover it accurately. So Crimson Hexagon, for example, can cover for example, the KSA market, but they won't cover it accurately. For example, we interviewed a marketing consultant recently, and I asked her, I told her, okay, but how are you dealing with the fact that Crimson Hexagon is giving you 70% neutral? She was like, and I try to see the fluctuations, and I predict that because I'm having a lot of fluctuations about my brand image online, maybe there's going to be an issue. They try to use it as a KPI, but it's still not insightful enough.
And also, we do not want our customers to think what this means. We will give you what you actually need to know. We will give you the information, the analysis of what's happening on the internet. Everything will be so easy when you use Aquila.
Basically, for now, anyone interested in marketing, and more specifically, gaming industry. Thank you.
Yeah, but it can actually be used in other domains, for example, in politics and everything else.
Thank you, Aquila. Good luck. Coming up is Ashghali. A big round of applause to Farah Al-Ruhayyam pitching for us Ashghali.
Just as I was struggling to make use of my time and earn some extra cash, my parents were juggling between the billion tasks they had to do and the endless errands they had to run. So just as I wanted to make some extra cash and make use of my time, my parents were juggling between the endless errands they had to run and the billion tasks they had to do. The modern world we live in today has alluded to this lifestyle that is very fast-paced and very financially demanding. And being part of this world, it has become an imperative on us as individuals to do way much more than we expect we can in way less time. And doing much more in less time is not an easy task to do. The problem begins with job accessibility for people who want to make more money in so much little time. And it is also in service accessibility for individuals who need an extra hand doing the tasks that they need to get done. And lastly, the heart of the problem lies really in the just-in-time matching between taskers and employers. But what if I tell you that there is a solution and there is a platform where you can find the hundreds of tasks available to you by just a tap of a button? Wouldn't that be a cool idea? Well, that's why we created Ashghali for you. Ashghali is a platform that connects employers to taskers. Taskers at Ashghali are individuals who are willing to utilize any set of skills or expertise that they have in order to make money. Employers at Ashghali are people who are seeking after these certain set of skills and expertise and want to actually save on money while in the process. At Ashghali, we are no longer in our idea stage. Ashghali is actually on the App Store, and we invite you all to download it. We will now leave you to see a little demo of how the market value of temporary services worldwide is estimated to be around $426 billion. The Middle East on its own is home to almost 10% of those $426 billion. At Ashghali, we aim to capture 5% of what the Middle East values at, which sums up to be around $2 billion. And in order for us to be capable of doing that, we have already started with our online marketing campaigns. We then hope to partner with universities and organizations in order to be capable of attracting a bigger crowd of taskers and employers. And lastly, we hope to expand to the Arabian world, starting from countries like the United Arab Emirates and Jordan. Our competitors mainly start with Nabish, TaskRabbit, and Thumbtack. And why we do things differently at Ashghali is simply because we have already learned from those before us. We have learned how to adapt successful businesses in the West into our Eastern culture. So first of all, the type of services that we are providing are things that do not need specifically a college degree. You might have a college degree, but you might not have not. So I might need someone to do pet walking for me, to do babysitting. I might need a model. Things that do not require you to have a specific background. Secondly, we are doing precision matching in order to ensure a better matching between our taskers and employers. Thirdly, we are available on all platforms, iOS, Android, and web. And lastly, we are using WhatsApp integration as a form of adaptation to the Middle East. It's an application that almost everybody knows how to use. So we are creating our own WhatsApp API that will act as a personal assistant to people and will send notifications through WhatsApp, and people can communicate with Ashghali through WhatsApp. Our business model will be composed firstly of the revenue sharing model. We will be taking 5% commission on transactions that will range from $10 to $50. Secondly, we will have sponsored profiles which will cost our users $5 a day if they want to be viewed more frequently than others. Our team is composed of me, Mark, and Joseph. We have known each other since the first day we stepped into AUB. We have worked together on a lot of projects. We have learned how to fail together, and we have learned how to succeed together. And one of the most notable projects that we worked on together was eventually acquired by a firm called ATPA. And what's good about our team is that we complement each other. For traction, we launched Ashghali 2 days ago, and 500 users on the application, which topped 1 in the App Store. We already have 10 completed jobs. We have politicians who endorsed us. We have Minister Noula Sahnawi tweeting about us. We were contacted by a very popular blogging page, which is Beirut.com, expressing their admiration with our initiative and wanting to write an article about us. Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to what we worked on this year as much as I enjoyed telling you about it. Thank you.
Impressive. Thank you, Farah. Impressive indeed. Members of the jury, floor is yours for questions to Farah and the members of the team.
Farah and members of the team, what's your liability? So if I ask for a babysitter, are you screening? Are you validating that the skills are there? Or are you just removed and you just make us meet each other? And my second question would be, what if you introduce us the first time and then I go off the system and begin dealing with that waiter? Is that a risk?
So for the second question, we're working with a rating system. We're working with the rating system. So people would want to continue working on the app for the rating. Yes, exactly. So when you have the highest rating, people are going to view you more, you're going to have more customers. So that's what we're depending on. As for the first one.
Add to this question is that we're not only focusing on one type of service. So one can come to check other services. You know, it's we have like 12 categories of services at least. Not about focusing on one service, so he can come back to other services as well.
Our main goal is to build a safe community. That is tough. So what we do at Ashghali is that we have a review process of both the person who is posting the job and the applicant who is applying for the job. So, and our goal is to combine it with artificial intelligence, but this is for a later stage. We are starting to gather some information about every applicant by using data mining on social media. This is not enough, but we're trying as much as possible to regulate these little stuff that are like one of the most important things to ensure a safe
White tags on freelancers that on the taskers that we can verify. I mean, if they can send us their documents and their adli in Arabic. So
also we have a phone verification, which is something important. So we have the verified contact of this person, and also are also dividing the tasks into priorities. Like babysitting is very important to have tight security checks, and yeah, that's it.
A couple questions from my end. So great work getting this already live and in the market. So I think that's a great achievement. The second thing is I want to ask you a little bit. So since it's live now, what's your next milestone? So what are you looking forward to as a metric or a milestone that you want to achieve? And two, have you measured the cost of a completed task today? So to get a completed task done throughout Ashghali, how much cost it has incurred on you?
Actually, we are getting reviews, like feedback from our customers on our social media pages. Some are very positive, and it's very encouraging, and people are happy about it. Especially, we want the feedback of the employers because these are the hardest to get on our social media platform. And we are like continuously talking to them, asking for additional feedback because, I mean, even if you're the smartest person in the room, you can't get the idea right from the first time. You just have to keep on iterating and listen to the customers. I just didn't get the question, the cost for us. So actually, we are the developers and we have a lot, like many years of experience. So developer costs, we just have our minimum salaries. And for the server side, we're just paying $15 a month, which is basically nothing. And so we have also SMS verification. We're using Twilio for SMS verification. It will cost 10 cents per user. That's it.
Yes, but it seems to me that you are a mature startup because this is your second startup, right? You had the first one. And the name of the game in these things is to scale up, right? And why don't you go and ask for more money into a venture capital fund as opposed to getting like starting, you know, just like your salaries for another year and 100,000, you know?
Actually, we will, but we're taking it one step at a time. At this stage, we don't have a lot of costs, actually. We just have like mostly the marketing cost and the reviewing cost for making the community safe. So that's it. We don't need a huge fund for the moment. And then when we need to scale and expand out of Lebanon, we will need some funds. Yeah. Sure, we need. It's a must.
We will continue working in it. So that's our plan. So 3 months, we're basically not going to have salaries for ourselves. We're just going to work on the communities that we know, the people that we know. If they start liking it, then we're going to start going around bigger.
Can I see the traction slide, please? So 10 completed jobs. So you did actually generate revenue. People paid. And they paid through the platform, or how are people paying? No, is it free or?
So for the moment, we're just like we're not supporting any payment system. We're going to introduce e-payments in the future. Why? Because we just want to make sure that our platform is free of bugs. Because if bugs get into payments, it's going to be a huge issue, and we don't want to risk it from the beginning. And since we're starting small and in Lebanon. So e-payment is not an issue for the moment.
And between these 1,500 daily active users, so how much are employers and how much are seekers of jobs or whatever? So it's demand and supply. So
I mean, we have yeah. But we have launched 2 days ago. So just playing on the marketing.
So top one in App Store. So what do you mean top one in App Store? I mean, download it.
Yeah, now you can download it on your phones.
Yeah, I mean, okay, but top one, I mean, is the most downloaded app in Lebanon store? Sorry? Okay, so in the subsection.
But in the general section, it's top 10. So.
Thank you, Ashghali.
Thank you.
Impressive indeed. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Our demo day has an impressive set of truly innovative startups. Now, the time has come for our esteemed jury to have their deliberation. You have a tough job to come. I'd like to request from you to kindly leave the room. Dr. Mona Aitani will be your guide. So you're given 20 minutes of deliberation, and hopefully you'll be able to come up with 3 winners of today's prize. Good luck. Meanwhile, while our judges deliberate, we want to keep you entertained. I'd like to introduce to you our guest startup for the day, Novenchi Med. Novenchi Med is a collaboration venture with the medical department. I'd like to welcome on stage Hazar Kanj, pitching for us Novenchi Med.
Thank you. Good evening. To date, when surgeons need to close a blood vessel permanently, they do it as such. A slow procedure that requires extensive experience to provide reliable results. In fact, in cardiovascular surgeries, knot tying is the most time-consuming procedure, as each vessel will take more than 2 minutes to be ligated. The increased time of the operation is subsequently translated into increased post-op complications and surgeon burnout, leading to increased morbidity and mortality. The knot tying device will solve this problem. It's a handheld mechanical tool that will ligate the vessel from both ends and cut in the middle in 1 click and less than 1 minute. Cardiovascular surgeries are increasing in number every single day because of the technological advancements and aging population. And so is the global market of the surgical instruments, which is growing at an annual rate of 7.3% and is expected to reach $16.9 billion by 2024. The users of the knot tying device are cardiovascular surgeons. However, our customers are medical equipment companies and hospitals. And for this, once the final prototype is ready, we will be starting with on-demand manufacturing and then license the patent for mass production. But to reach there, we will start by applying to accelerators that are specialized in medical technologies as soon as we register the patent. Our competitors are mainly cautery and clipping devices, which despite their presence for years now, surgeons worldwide continue to use the conventional method for the tensile strength of the suture itself, which guarantee a permanent leak-proof knot. The knot tying device uses the same suture. However, it fully automates the procedure, resulting in fast and reliable results. Our team is multidisciplinary, with 2 medical doctors and 4 mechanical engineers on board, 2 of them experienced in automation and 2 in manufacturing. In our board of advisors, we have Dr. Ahmedi, expert in design and material, and Dr. Wahbe, a cardiovascular surgeon. Today, we have part A of the device ready. However, in the final vision of the device, we will have 2 of this knot tying mechanism in addition to part B, which is supposed to cut the vessel in the middle. And now we will move to a demo of the knot tying mechanism. So to the left of the screen, the red balloon is supposed to represent a blood vessel. The entering and pulling of the thread will be completely automated. Once the thread completes the whole trajectory, the device will separate it automatically as well from the interior parts. And after the separation, we will see the knot directly. So here are the two knots, which is supposed to complete a full knot. And the final vision of the prototype, a sliding mechanism such as this will be added, and it will slide the knot automatically as well over the vessel and control the tightness of the knot. In the coming year, we will be doing the part B. We will be creating the part B, which is the cutter of the blood vessel, and we will be working on testing part A in vitro and in vivo and optimizing its size and efficiency. To do so, we are looking to raise $90,000 for a 12-month runway to be spent 75% on testing and material and 25% on operational costs. The knot-tying device is equivalent to a surgeon with 5 hands, and therefore, we believe in its potential to revolutionize cardiovascular surgeries and decrease morbidity and mortality. Thank you.
Thank you, Hazad. Thank you, Hazad. Impressive. I'm going to ask the audience to ask questions now. So if you have any question. Yeah, let's pass the mic.
Thanks for the presentation. So we've seen the mechanical part of the product, but I think there's more complexity in the automation because we've noticed that somebody was taking the part apart and putting some force to actually get the tie tight. Would that add also complexity? Are you looking at that complexity or? Like
Yeah.
you didn't mention the automation part of the device. Is that in the process, and how long would that actually take to be done?
Thank you for the question. In fact, we are today a guest team for this reason, because a medical device in its small size and all the certification and accuracy that it needs to reach is a long road. However, today we have the first step, which is this patentable mechanism. There's lots to be added and to be done to it, definitely. And we have tried, this is not the first mechanism we came up with. And the mechanism itself will need other editing and fixation. However, the automation, we've looked into it. We have already the motors and everything, but we didn't have the time to put everything together because the whole year we were working on the internal mechanism. However, definitely, it's something that we're taking into consideration, and hopefully next year we invite you all to join us here as well to present the final prototype. Any other question? Please. Sure.
How do you make sure you apply the necessary force not to end up tearing up the vein or vessel?
The force will be regulated by a sensor in regards to the tightening of the knot, which is related to the sliding mechanism, and in regards to the pulling of the threads. Both will be controlled by a sensor. We have the force that needs to be there is not very, it doesn't have to be at 1 Newton difference. We have some range, so we are kind of flexible, and we have tested that we can target this exact force.
Thank you.
Other questions? Sure.
Thank you for this presentation. I just wonder, is it an innovative idea or you have competitors in this domain?
Yeah, thank you. As I mentioned, our main competitors are cautery and clipping. We believe that our biggest advantage is the way we are doing things. We are not looking at, in the past few years, research was done into doing things a bit differently, doing things like stapling a vessel or just cauterizing it and ligated through the coagulation process. However, we are just doing what surgeons are currently doing, but automating it. This is our kind of differentiation, and we believe that this will give us the the advantage or the edge over the others. Does this answer your question?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Hazar, I'm going to ask a question myself.
Sure.
What is the accuracy of this device? Because this is life-threatening, so you can't make mistakes at all. So could you tell us about
Sure, lots of testing is yet to be done. However, we have, as I said, this is not the first mechanism we came up with. Previous mechanism had more degree of errors, or this is why we left them. And this mechanism, it's pretty safe. There's kind of, up till now, there's no, as much as the sliding mechanism is accurate, we will reach the results that we want.
Are you trying it on actual vessels? On blood?
Not yet, not on vessels. During the coming year, our first stage of testing will be in vitro over balloons with water and to see the leakage. And once we are fine on that, we will move to the
Maybe you can try rats or something.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Hazar. Any more questions from the audience? Thank you, Nuvenji Med.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, our audience, you do have a vote in this. So this is why a set of clickers have been distributed to each one in this room. We're going to ask you all to please vote for your favorite team, for your favorite startup. So you have a clicker with you. We're going to start with a dummy question. So the question is, who are you? So just click on the right answer as you see according to the alphabets shown on the screen. Now, once you enter your click, we're supposed to see some graphs coming up. Right, Elias?
Are still voting. So now we have 97 who have voted. Anyone is facing an issue?
So you're going to see your votes showing up on the screen.
101, 102. We have more votes than people. Okay, so now we'll see the results. So we have a majority of AUB students, some lost their ways, and 3 mercenary voters, 3%.
Who are the investors here?
It takes the last one.
I'd like to know who are the investors in the room.
Yeah, 9%. That's it.
Oh, wow. Who lost your way? Okay, so now for the real question. Okay, so select your favorite startup. You have A, Alarmmate, B, ScodeUp, C, PCMT, D, 3D, E, SolarUp, F, Oyster, G, Aquila, H, Ashghali, I, Nuvenji Med. So your votes will really count because those guys will be getting the audience award, the most popular vote award. Any questions? Fine.
I have some hesitations, so there are 20 that didn't make up their mind yet.
I know, it's really hard to pick. I have my favorite, though. Can't say. So we have 94 responses.
$98, 3 more.
So who's going to get the popular
White vote.
There's hesitation.
And the winner is?
PCMT. Wow.
Wow, well done.
That was really close. That's really close. Okay, congratulations for PCMT team. You won the audience award. We still need to know the rest of the winners, so we'll have to wait for the jury to come out. I think they're going to need a few more minutes. So I'll share a story with you. So I was reading things that Richard Branson was saying, and maybe I can share it with you, okay? If you're interested, of course. So if you want to become your own boss in 2019, if you want to become a billionaire, coming up with a business idea is the first step. If that feels daunting, billionaire serial entrepreneur Richard Branson has an advice. Start by asking yourself what you could do to make your own life better or easier. Often the best way is to find a gap, is to look around you. Are there any services that could be improved, or a product that could make something easier? Says Branson, who's currently worth more than $5 billion, according to Forbes. Currently, Branson's Virgin Group includes 60 businesses with more than 70,000 employees who serve 53 million customers across the globe. He encourages others to become entrepreneurs. He says they are the lifeblood of the economy. They drive innovation, create jobs, and push humanity forward. It's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. Opportunities are getting bigger and bigger as the world is getting smaller. Well said, Branson. So, another story, something that Google guys said. So, Larry Page and Sergey Brin are the two entrepreneurs who started Google. Just to let you know, they were students just like you, 20-year-old students, and they started in their dorm rooms. And this is what they say. The relentless search for better answers continues to be at the core of everything that we do. Today, with more than 60,000 employees in 50 different countries, Google makes hundreds of products used by billions of people across the globe, from YouTube and Android to Smartbox, and of course, Google Search. Our passion for building technology for everyone has always stayed for us, from the dorm room to the garage and to this very day. So never be scared to go and venture, start things on your own. I've seen amazing startups pitching today, and I hope I'll hear about them in the near future, and I would say I was there. I saw them pitch for the first time, and they did it. They succeeded. Okay, so thank you all for coming today. I wonder what the jury are doing. Hope they'll be done soon. So maybe I'll ask the audience to share with us a story, an interesting story about what they did this year. Maybe we have some FYPs who'd like to share their experiences, their FYP journey. Maybe one of the startup guys. How about that? Like to share with us something? Another thing. Let's give them the mic. So how would you describe your years at AUB and the culmination of all of this in this FYP project? Yeah. You're graduating soon, right?
So very soon, less than a month.
How do you feel?
I don't feel anything. I'm still, we're working a lot. We still haven't realized this yet. AUB has given us a lot of opportunities, and they gave us the mentality to think and to do much more work in very little time. So we know how to be time efficient and how to do everything, because for the past week we've been doing a lot of stuff on the FYP and on other stuff. So, and yes, it has molded us to become people who really make use of their time, I think, for everyone. And the projects today show that in a year we did a lot of progress, all of the projects. So it was a nice experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. So these are the transparent skills that Dr. Rana was talking about. It's not only the technical skills that we learn here in AUB, it's also these transparent skills that you will carry with you wherever you go after you graduate. Soft skills. So just share with us your experience in AUB, since you'll be graduating very, very soon. So guys from PCMT,
yes.
The winners of the popular award.
Yes.
Tell us, how do you feel?
We feel very happy, and yeah, it was a great. Actually, the accelerator was one of the best experiences we had in AUB, because it was like really fun. We met a lot of great people, and we were like super supportive of each other. So it was really nice. Yeah, it's a great initiative, and I hope it's going to continue. And we really enjoyed ourselves, and yeah, mainly that's it.
Thanks to Dr. Hiyam Khouri. It gave us so much opportunity. We learned how to turn theory into practice, and we've learned all the business aspects from marketing to the legal side to how to monetize. And we've met with so many mentors, so many people in the business. I think it's the best thing I did in AUB. It was for 1 year, and I don't think that anyone could have the same opportunity that we had, winning up to $30,000 without any equity and having this exposure. I think we couldn't have it without Mr. Bustani and Mrs. Mona, and we're really grateful for that.
Thank you.
Great to hear. Thank you.
And it was very interesting for us because we had no idea about anything in the startup world, and we discovered something new, and we didn't know that it was like an opportunity after graduation. And now we're really considering it, so it was very interesting for us to discover this aspect.
Should be pursuing it even after you graduate. So it's not the end of the story today. It's only the beginning.
It's the beginning, yeah.
Guys, we are still missing 5 voting devices.
So I'd like to talk to Ashghali group. I'd like to hear your feedback. So you missed the popular award by a few points. It's okay.
Our feedback on the FYP Accelerator.
Not only about the FYP Accelerator, about your entire experience in AUB, and maybe you could highlight the accelerator experience as well.
Well, I'm not sure what to say, but what I know for sure is that AUB turns out to the most of us what we don't expect it to be. And that at one point we wanted to do an FYP and get it over with, and now we have pitched for like 5 times in 5 different competitions. And we have challenged ourselves to come up and to speak when it was something that we perhaps didn't know how to do well. And we dig deeper into the business side of something that we only sought after as technical at first. So it was a good opportunity.
Something I could tell you, you are very talented in this. I'm sure others would agree. And Ashghali, I see the future for Ashghali. It's already out there, and I believe it will grow.
Thank you. We hope so too.
So before we ask a question to Sami, we're still missing 2 devices. So we're progressing. We're getting there. You cannot sell them in the black market, by the way. They need the receiver, so it will not help you.
Who has the 2 clickers?
You can give them back anonymously. But meanwhile, Sami, so you've seen tons and tons of startups. You are one of the earliest accelerators here in Lebanon. So what is your feedback on the startup that you saw overall? Like, where do you think they have strengths over the typical? Where are their weaknesses?
Hi. Sure. So maybe I'll stand this way people can see me. So I guess I was here in 2005, by the way. I graduated from here in 2005 as an engineer. Back then, there was nothing like this whatsoever, not even an accelerator in the market or an incubator or like literally anything. Things clearly evolved and went a long way since then. You guys are extremely privileged to have this running in the school. And the things I've seen today, like, I think you've done really well at this stage. Like, you're still just graduating right now, and the level I've seen is pretty good. Like, I'm impressed. There are so many good things. What I would give advice or feedback to people here is that you are privileged to be in the engineering school and to have the technical talent. This is something rare. We are struggling in the ecosystem to find good engineers and technical talent. So since you have it, you should really leverage this. It's easy to find a business person. It's easy to find a marketing person. I'm not downplaying their role or their degree, but it's very difficult to have a good engineer and a good developer. And you have it. So leverage this to the maximum and pursue your dreams from now. If it fails, it will be a great learning experience. And if you make it, you'll be making it very early on. So best of luck.
So we have Professor Ana Shhadi here with us in the room. Dr. Ana, we'd like to hear your words about the accelerator program.
Having just walked in the room, I think I'll be an expert about this. I'm seeing the vote up here. It's quite interesting. It is, the accelerator program is, how many of you are involved in the accelerator program? I mean, There were many people presenting. How many of you have never heard of the accelerator program or the entrepreneurship track? Okay, so everyone has heard of it at least, and you're here because you have friends or family competing today? Is there anyone that's just here because they're interested to know what's going on in the track? Oh, great. All right. Well, welcome. I'm interested too. I'll raise my hand. I have been not so involved in this accelerator program. I've been involved in helping promote it and plan it, but it's really not been my baby. Muna Aitani, who I saw was sitting up here earlier, is the coordinator of the program. Ayman AC, someone that some of you may have heard of before. Have you heard of the app called Yamli? Yeah? Okay, so that's one of our alum. His name is Habib Haddad. He made that app. And he's been really kind of a figure in the background that many of you might not know has been involved in helping plan this from the inception. So I'd also like to mention him. But we see MSFEA as being a hub for entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial activity. We think it's very important for students, whether or not they stand under the speaker, whether or not they're planning to start a company, to be involved in entrepreneurial activities, because those help you, those give you life skills, regardless whether you're going to start a company or not. We do hope that we can be part of an ecosystem of entrepreneurship in Lebanon and make it so that it's possible for people to get a degree at AUB and then stay in the country and do some high-tech, innovative things. So that's happening to some extent. How many of you have been to Beirut Digital District, BDD? Many of you. That's great. So I feel like BDD is kind of, it's university version 2.0 in Lebanon. If you see the activity that's happening there, the energy, the young people that are doing interesting things, I feel like it's kind of it's taken a center of gravity of its own, and it's very interesting. We are partnering with BDD. Many of you know that some of the projects that we'll be winning today will go to BDD for several months. They'll have office space free of charge, and they'll have access to the resources there and the contacts and the other accelerators. And yeah, so I'm energized by your energy and by seeing how many people are here on the last day before a holiday. And I don't know what else to say, frankly, but thank you all for being here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the results are from our esteemed jury.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ala. Very inspiring. So, we still have a few minutes to wait for the jury to come back with the answers and with the long-waited for votes. So meanwhile, again.
That's like an invitation to say more. I'd like to give the microphone to one of our distinguished alum who's here with us today. He works at Google. He's sitting right in front of me. He still looks like a student. So Nadim, would you say a couple of words? I mean, you shared with us some wisdom yesterday. How many of you were here in the opening ceremony where we were giving the Distinguished Alumni Awards? Not many, right? So most of you have not heard what Nadim had to say. And I found it so interesting that I asked him for a copy of his speech, and I'm going to be distributing it to the faculty and to the students maybe as well. But would you be willing to just say a couple of words? Tell us a little bit, what was the punchline of what you told us yesterday? I'll stay up here with you. I'm not going to put you totally on the spot.
I'm sure you can do it, Nadim.
But I guess a lot of the stuff I talked about yesterday, may not be directly applicable to this type of environment, given that it was largely guided by my experience working for large tech companies in the US for the most part. But I do have a couple thoughts on that are more applicable to the entrepreneurial side of things. Namely that I think you really don't have to have a groundbreaking idea to build a successful product and or company. A lot of the recent successes, whether it's domestic, Kareem recently got acquired by Uber, and even locally in the US, many of the companies that went public and or got acquired recently were just slight variations on pre-existing. A lot of them were marketplace apps, right? The concept itself is not groundbreaking, it's just applied in a slightly different way. The only thing all of these have in common really is that they were solving a friction point that people were having in their day-to-day lives. And in terms of the mindset you might want to try to sort of foster and adopt to maximize your chances of succeeding at implementing something like this is to just try to understand the dynamics of things. And I'm trying to think of an example to make it a little more concrete. So about, was it 10 years ago, first time I left, well, so I grew up in France, but and then I moved back to Lebanon, and then 10 years ago is the first time I was actually living on my own. I went to the US for a year-long internship. And growing up, spending my adolescent years in Lebanon, I got used to ordering food delivery pretty often. Right? Common thing, everybody has a cell phone number on their menus and whatnot. And then I moved to the US, and I was shocked to realize that pretty much the only thing you could order online when it came to food was just pizza. And then, fast forward 10 years, and now you have Uber Eats and Caviar and a whole bunch of food delivery apps. And if you think about it, really, it's not that there was no need for food delivery. I'm sure if the services existed back then, a lot of people probably would have used them. It's just that the economics drastically changed in the form of you had these carpooling apps that, Uber and Uber Pool, that suddenly you had this cheap network of labor and transportation that you could leverage to deliver food cost effectively. And realizing this was key to sort of, and if you look at Lebanon, right, we had food delivery way before the US did. And just by drawing these analogies of trying to understand why something works in a part of the world but it doesn't in another, very often you can sort of be ahead of the curve and spotting those dynamic changes in terms of the constraints no longer being there and being able to enter the market at an opportune time and actually make a business out of it. And in that case specifically, right, it was the ratio of the labor cost to the food cost itself became sustainable. And in Lebanon, right, transportation and labor is relatively cheap, whereas food, relative to other sort of CPI component, cost of living components, is fairly high, right? So, random thoughts.
Nadim, you said something yesterday about working, like when you joined the workplace at Google. You showed up and they introduced you for a few minutes to a few different people and then said, okay, get busy. Tell us a little bit about that experience, because I think that's kind of unique. That's not what at the university where we give problem sets and we say it's due on Wednesday and here's the book and you got to do this. How is that different than what you saw when you first joined?
I should probably correct the record. I no longer work for Google as of 6 or 7 months ago. So for those of you who weren't here yesterday, it's true. So first day I joined Google, well, technically, first day is orientation, but first day where I actually land on my team, my manager walks me around the floor, introduced me to various people and the functional areas they were responsible for, and literally walks away after telling me to go figure out what I was going to work on.
So go figure out what you're going to work on, he told you.
Right, as in identify a problem. And so oftentimes people start out by helping out on a pre-existing project that is trying to solve a problem that has already been identified. But if you actually come up with an idea that's more with a problem or a proposal that would solve a problem that's more impactful than what's already been identified, and so I guess in general, to give this some context, the culture in Silicon Valley is fairly meritocratic relative to other industries. I'm not totally convinced, or I'm not sure I fully understand why that is relative to other industries. The closest explanation I could come up with was that it's really about economics, and that the tech sphere or the tech in general is fairly unique in the leverage it provides, in that a single engineer can build a product that is used by billions of people and generate billions of dollars in revenue, right? So the impact of one engineer, one idea, on the business, on the bottom line of the company can be tremendous. And I don't think that's something that existed before, before technology and that kind of reach and scale. And so it becomes a lot more critical for companies to make sure that good ideas and smart people rise in their ranks. Otherwise, they'll just go somewhere else and either challenge them or they'll just lose this opportunity cost of not letting the ideas that have merit rise. And in a different environment where maybe you're having a good idea might shave a cent or two, might shave a cent or two off of something that where the bulk of the cost is not necessarily as correlated. Your revenue is not as closely correlated to sort of the cognitive merit of your workforce, then those dynamics don't really apply. I forgot what you.
How challenging was it?
I was actually. Let me jump in and help you for a second here. Not necessarily help you, but let me riff on what you said. If you think about the university and how it's different than the work environment that he just described, where he introduces you quickly. Imagine, do you think that would work as a university? Like maybe, okay, you're a new student. Salim, you're a new student in industrial engineering, and I say, here's the chair of industrial, here's the chair of mechanical. Go figure out what you're going to study, and you're going to get a degree in 4 years from now. Do we kind of do that? I mean, or do we not do that at all? And how is that different than, say, or how is it similar to the entrepreneurship track, if you think about it? This is a place, I think this track is somewhere that gives you a little bit more freedom in that respect to kind of figure out your own way with mentors around that you can draw on as resources, but not really, here's the assignment, here's how to do it, and here's the formula, but more like explore on your own. And I mean, that would model, I think, better the kind of workplace that Nadim is mentioning. And it's maybe a direction that we're trying to slowly go. Like it's very different than a standard 4-year block curriculum where everyone has certain courses they take in the first semester, the second, the third, and the fourth, and so on. So is that something that, as students, you feel like, yes, we'd like more of that, or does that sound too scary? Or let me hear some reactions from you about that. Nadim might say about it too, in reaction to your reactions. Does anyone want to venture a comment about this? Who am I going to pick on? How about you guys? You just pitched. Oh, you're not warmed up? You're numb. Well, I'm going to turn it over to MSFEA's best actor, who just today gave an amazing TED-like talk about electromagnetics. And he's trying to tell me that the strongest force in nature is electromagnetic, and it's what's allowing me to hold this microphone right now. I always thought it was friction and other things, but apparently not. So what do you think about the notion of opening up the curriculum so that it's more like an exploration with mentors around than it is, here's the program?
Thank you, Dean, for putting me on the spot. Now I have to come up with an answer. Hi all. Well, I think the idea could be, I mean, it could work. It could be cool to implement. However, I still believe there should be some guidelines and general format that the students should follow. But having a more open curriculum could prove beneficial, but still with some guidelines and some monitoring. So, yeah.
Yes, politely. I see a hand over there that's enthusiastic.
So I'm not sure if I took the correct decision by replying to your question, but I'm gonna go ahead anyways and answer it. Well, yes. I think the guidelines that we're stuck in and the endless courses that we have to attend and we are the least interested in what is being said and the endless labs that we have to do pre-labs for, post-labs for, and we really we don't care. Like, yes, I'm into this major because I wanted to learn something, but that was not it. But I'm forced into it because I want to get my degree. Well, that not only wastes our time, but it kind of diverts the energy and the innovation that we have, because it kind of just kill it. Because you don't have time to innovate and you do not have the time to be yourself. So once again, probably I should not have answered, but for me, yes, I'm all with liberating students to doing what they do. Because I don't know, like Mark, for example, he does software development in his free time. It's what he loves. But when he's stuck, I don't know, studying chips and whatnot for 2 years of his life, and he's graduating as a software engineer, it makes him question, like, why the hell am I doing it? And we all have similar questions.
I think that's a pretty good answer in that there's an efficiency argument to be made, and I think the right structure would be a combination of giving students more freedom to sort of guide their path, but with enough structure and guidance around them that they can be efficient in learning and being productive, right? Because if you don't know anything about a field, you can spend your entire career or life just trying to learn things that somebody could have sort of guided you towards much more quickly and efficiently. But yeah, and my AUB experience was a bit singular in that I took that philosophy to the extreme, where luckily professors
almost didn't graduate, I think, yeah?
Not quite. Like I would
okay.
skip exams and got a bunch of zeros and such. But I would always feel the pressure towards the end and study for the final. And true story, at one point, and it was the electronics lab. So I was working on a side project. I wasn't really paying much attention in class, and it showed. And so the instructors kind of built this perception that I wasn't a good student or whatever it was. And so the day before the exam, I start feeling the pressure. I borrow a classmate's notes, study all night, drink a bunch of coffee, and then I show up to the exam. I like finish whatever in half an hour. I get a good grade, and then I get an email from Khaled Juju claiming that I cheated and hacked Moodle and stole the questions. So he made me like come back into the office and take the exam in the written form. But then eventually,
How did you do? Did you get the same?
I got the same grade,
Okay,
so he was satisfied. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, that's been my path, in that I just followed. I was very focused on the things I liked, and most of my time and energy was spent on side projects and the coursework. Well, actually, electives that were in line with my interest, I was very diligent at. But for anything that fell outside of that zone, I basically did the bare minimum. Not that it's a good model, I think there should be more flexibility than the curriculum currently allows.
I tend to agree with that. So I think a lot of the faculty actually tend to agree with that. And we're making some changes to make the curriculum quite a bit more flexible than it currently is. Unfortunately, for most of you in this room, you're not going to see the benefits of that. But we're hearing you, and we're also interested in doing that. So this response kind of reminds me of a second-order damped response. So you had like an overshoot, and then we had a correction, and then so like we're coming to somewhere in between, just a totally open, walk into AUB, welcome, and figure out your own way, and you got to take these courses no matter what, and so on. So we're somewhere in between those two. I'm not always convinced that the middle is the right path. I mean, it might be that it's even outside of either one of those. Would anyone else, are there any students that would like to say something more about their experience? Your name, please.
I'm Tanya, and I'm a civil engineer. And basically what I felt during my 4 years of engineering was that a lot of the courses we take have projects in them, and we tend to feel that think that projects are going to help us innovate and go our own way. But the thing is, aside from the curriculum, the courses themselves, the projects are more into applying whatever you have learned and whatever someone else is making you learn, and whatever other people did and discovered. And those are the projects we were doing, or like following some guidelines and never coming up with your own ideologies and your own ideas. And this is where the FYP was the only time where I felt that it was go on, do your thing. And I was kind of sad that my 4 years didn't have the same experience, so yeah. Yeah, in civil engineering this year we had one advisor that was for the whole FYPs, but we held also for every task, every like sub for transportation one and like structures one. So a lot of guidance. It was good, but yeah, it's the innovation part of it. It's aside from the advisors, it's the innovation, the putting your ideas into a project.
Here comes our jury, finally.
Oh, all right.
Ms. Salam, Dr. Rana, Omar, could you come down with the results, please? For the checks. You do have the results.
All right.
Sure.
So a quick announcement, business announcement for everyone. So here the startup winners will be announced, but there's also the awards ceremony where there are many other awards being given. So right after we finish here, there's an awards ceremony and a reception in the big tent. So that was an announcement from our trustee organizer. I'd like to give him a round of applause. Mazen. So he's been tirelessly working for the Ideas Conference as a whole, and he was really the chair of the committee, and he did a wonderful job for his second year in a row. I think I'm going to make him the permanent Ideas man. No, I won't do that to you. So I'll turn over the microphone back to you. See what happens when you give me a microphone.
Thank you. You're so good at it. Dr. Rana, you have it. So you're offering this one.
You guys should have been with us upstairs because the screaming and shouting, at the end nobody was sitting in their chair, everybody was standing and fighting. What does that mean?
رنا بهدلتنا قالت لها don't be Lebanese anymore.
I did. I said don't be Lebanese يعني عقادوا وخلينا نحكي برواق, but it was useless on them. So what is the message out of all that discussion? There wasn't a single company or a single proposal that came out here today that did not have merit, or that one of us did not think it deserved to be on the stage. Every one of them deserved to be presented to all of you, as well as to the jury, as well as to the professors. And this is why we had such heated arguments. So please give yourselves all a hand. But we had to make a choice, and we had a list of criteria on our evaluation sheet, which included things like the innovation of the product. It included things like even the scalability and so on. And we added a few. We had to put a few additional ones so that we can navigate between them and choose the first, second, and third.
And I think that some of the things we really were impressed with was the level of traction that we saw in some of these companies. And the other thing that we were really impressed with was the application of science and technology. People who had taken and built things that really kind of inspired us and excited us to demonstrate the skills that they had built here in the university. And also, we're tackling opportunities that were large enough that if they were to pursue these R&D opportunities, even if the iteration they have today is not very successful or not yet there, that in the future, the R&D could be developed into something really both commercially viable and something that really has intellectual property, not just innovation overall.
Ideation stage. Hella, because I am in human resources talent management, I have to give you something we would have liked to see more of, which is a tip for you guys next year who are going to stand here. We did not see enough business planning, the financial thinking, year one plan, year two plan. It doesn't work that this time the money is there, but you could be pitching when the money could go to somebody else. The money today has to be divided between you, and so you are ranked against each other. You could be told no elsewhere if you don't have proper business planning and year one revenues and how much profits and costing of the whatever and so on and so forth. So this is a tip from me to all of you to work a bit more on this next year. However, we're ready now, so.
Okay, now the moment has come to announce the winners of this day's competition. We're going to start with the third place. Third runner-up. Third place. Ashghali. Congratulations. Second place. PCMT. Yeah. They also won the People's Choice. Congratulations. ألف مبروك. Congratulations, CMT. So, last.
I'm sorry to announce we decided to cancel the first.
No, we still have the. Yeah, bummer. So.
I have a drum roll for you guys.
Last but not least. First place goes to 3D. Congratulations. Well done. They pitched awesome. Their pitch was awesome, really. ألف مبروك. ألف مبروك. ألف مبروك. Congratulations. So winners, would like to ask you to come on stage. Esteemed judges, please join us for a final picture. It was a pleasure to have you here. We would like to thank the working committee for making this event possible. Thank you also to our panel of judges, to our technical support group, and to all who have contributed to the success of this event.